That's part of the NFL. That's part of football. You coach or play long enough, and those things happen. They're unfortunate, but that's the attrition of a season. I would say that he has done a phenomenal job of growing up really fast. We drafted him, you come to the NFL, there's a lot on your plate, and then we throw all these new protections at you, these new fronts and blitzes and routes, and I think that he's a guy that understands that we are counting on him, and he needs to get up to speed quickly, and he's been mature about that, and he's going to keep working.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
And here we go, Raider Nation. We come into the sounds of head coach Clint Kubiak, who met with us after practice today, and you hear him talking about injuries. They're part of the game, part of the NFL, and if you coach long enough, you'll have to deal with them. And obviously the Raiders are dealing with injuries, Ashton Jeanty being the big name there. And then, of course, he talks about Mike Washington Jr. and his development ever since they drafted him in the 4th round out of Arkansas. We've seen 2 good preseason games from Mike Washington, but as you heard Clint Kubiak say, going to have to get him up to speed. He's going to have to come along and continue to develop quickly. They're relying on him. So what does that mean? Well, of course, that'll be part of the discussion we have on the show today. Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. Got my man Ari back in the Lotus Broadcasting Studios. I'm here in Studio Q, and I got a big show lined up for you. When I mean big show, I mean we got a big show. Every single corner of the show is filled, is packed, is locked and loaded, right? It's an exciting day. Every day is an exciting day, but as this training camp and preseason rolls on and it starts to come to a close, and it will be closed sooner rather than later. As a matter of fact, on Sunday, they'll have the cutdowns from the 90-man roster to the 53-man roster, and then that's when it gets real. The next time that we get out there to practice after the cutdowns, the roster and the guys on the field, it'll be a lot less dudes out there than are out there right now. So that's coming up right around the corner. But we still have a few more days before that takes place. But I got a big show, as I mentioned, lined up for you. We'll talk to our guy, Paul Gutierrez, Raiders.com. He'll join us coming up at 2:30 just to talk about the silver and black, where he thinks that they are right now, where they need to go. Obviously get his thoughts on the Ashton Jeanty injury moving forward as well. So Paul G will join us at 2:30 at 3 o'clock. The professor, Lincoln Kennedy, he joins the show. Him and many of his, former teammates and just anybody who's been a member of the Silver and Black are in town for Alumni Weekend. We talked to Kirk Morrison about that on yesterday. We'll talk to Lincoln about that coming up tomorrow or today, but tomorrow or Thursday, I should say, is when Alumni Weekend is. But Lincoln will join us coming up at 3 o'clock and talk about the event, just talk about what he's seen from this team through 2 preseason games and really what his expectations are for preseason game number 3. That's one of the questions that I tried to ask the head coach, Clint Kubiak, today, and he's not going to give us a whole lot when it comes to expectations of who's going to play or not. A lot of times, as you recall, it used to be that 3rd preseason game when there were still 4 of them. That was the dress rehearsal. That was when you got to see a lot of your guys, and you just kind of knew what they were going to be. And then that 4th preseason game, you weren't going to see too much of anybody. So I was just curious, what his philosophy is for preseason game number 3. He somewhat treated preseason game number 2 as a dress rehearsal, but then again, we didn't see the 1, so don't expect to see, as far as I'm concerned, don't expect to see too much on Thursday against the 49ers. But again, unless you ask, you won't know, or at least you attempt to find out the answer to that. Didn't really give us too much of that, so it's one of those wait and sees, and kind of gave a couple smiles when he was answering to that question, knowing that we're just curious on who's going to be playing and who's not going to be playing coming up in Thursday's game. So, like I said, Big Link will join us coming up at 3 o'clock, talk about the alumni event. That's always a great event for the Raiders. They've got the silver and black carpet that they're going to have rolled out that a lot of former players are going to be a part of, and that'll be really cool. And I know Link's going to have a great time seeing all his former teammates and anyone who's donned the silver and black and gone out there and put on for the Raiders. So Lincoln Kennedy joins us coming up at 3. John McClain, as he does each and every Tuesday, the general, he'll join us at 3:30. It'll be the first time that I've talked to him since last Thursday, since the Raiders and Texans game got wrapped up. I didn't get the chance to catch up with him after the game, so got to see him, spend some time with him last week, which was really cool. Pick his brain. It's always great to talk to the general, so I want to get his thoughts on what he saw from the Raiders, what he saw when he was talking to Clint Kubiak and just even Gary Kubiak as he was talking to him at joint practice last Tuesday, and just his overall feelings of the Raiders. We'll talk all things NFL as well, as you're starting to see more moving and shaking going on with different rosters as each team is starting to get prepared for their cutdown day coming up on Sunday. And, of course, injuries are part of it. We saw Jamar Chase look like he got banged up there with the Cincinnati Bengals. We don't know the severity of that as of yet, but it's never good, just like it was never good when we left the facility on Sunday and we knew Ashton Jeanty had an injury, but we didn't know really the severity of it. We still, at this stage of the game, do not. So John McClain will join us coming up at 3:30. 4 o'clock, Brandy Flores from the Las Vegas Sports Network. She's been out there at practice every single day. I actually had to leave a couple minutes early today. I left after Clint Kubiak spoke with us. I didn't get to hang around for Jordan Meredith or Brandon Cleveland just because I had to hustle up and get here and get ready for this show. So she was there. She was able to stay the whole time, and she was there yesterday when I was at Allegiant Stadium for the $25 million donation and gift that the Raiders gave Intermountain Health. So Brandy will join us coming up at 4 o'clock. Just give us her thoughts on the Raiders. She was in Houston as well last week, so just kind of a combination of everything. And, oh, by the way, she'll talk about the fight that took place at T-Mobile Arena over the weekend, a really good fight. I thought the card was great, was able to be there in attendance, had a really good time, so she'll give us her thoughts on the big fights that took place at T-Mobile. Then at 4:30, we have the Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award recipient, Clark High School head football coach Deumaine Reeder. Clark got a big victory over the week. They had to go up to Northern Nevada, but they got the victory over Douglas, and matter of fact, sealed the deal by way of defense. Had a defensive play, created a turnover, and was able to get the ball back and seal the deal in that game. So they start out 1-0. They've got a game coming up against Virgin Valley as they're trying to establish themselves for this upcoming season. So Deumaine Reeder will join us coming up at 4:30. He is a Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award recipient. He is no stranger to that award, but we'll talk to him about getting the award after week one and, you know, what it means for his team moving forward. So we'll do that at 4:30. So as you can tell, we're locked and loaded, man. We got so much to get to on today's show. When I said every area of the show is covered, every corner of the show is covered, I meant every single corner of the show is covered. Paul Gutierrez at 2:30, Lincoln Kennedy at 3, John McClain at 3:30, Brandy Flores at 4, and Clark High School head football coach Deumaine Reeder at 4:30. Before we get into the opening drive, we got to hear from our guy E-Rob. Yesterday was important. The rest of the week is important, but today is always going to be important. And why is that?
Because every day matters. The older you get, the more you start appreciating day in and day out, because you know I can't get that time back. I'm in the business of saying, not if I would have did this or if I would have did that. I'm in the business of now.
I'm in the business of now as well. So right now, let's jump into the opening drive.
The opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM is brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
So as we get into the opening drive, of course, I got a topic that I like to bring to the table each and every day. We'd love to get your feedback, and I know there's not a ton of time for calls and texts, but we'll try to get in as many as possible in between the guests that we have here on the show today. But I do want to go ahead and address the big elephant in the room. Obviously, as we got to the facility today, we knew that we were going to be talking to head coach Clint Kubiak following practice, and I had mentioned it multiple times yesterday. I mentioned it this morning on the podcast. The first, second, and third question that we asked were all going to be about Ashton Jeanty and where he's at when it comes to his injury after seeing what happened on Sunday, seeing him, be helped off the field. And, obviously the team took a knee, had a prayer for him, had a little moment of silence for him, wanted to know the severity of the injury. Now, when we go into this situation, we know there's a good chance he's not going to give us the full, clear answer. Well, he did not disappoint, and he did not give us a whole lot when asked, hey, what's going on with Ashton Jeanty?
Not going to talk about injuries. He's on the mend.
There was a point after he went down, you guys kind of all took a knee and took a moment. What initiated that, and who kind of led that? It looked like it was a prayer.
Yeah, said a prayer. Power of prayer.
Like answers that you get?
Yeah, well, he always answers in his time.
Clint, are you at least optimistic that Jeanty may have avoided something that could have been serious? Or without getting, I know you don't want to get into detail about the specifics of the injury, or at least optimistic that it's not something that's like major?
Yeah, well, again, Ashton got hurt in practice, and the whole team took a knee. I think that says a lot about him being on the mend and us counting on him. So really excited to get him back, and I'm a huge believer in the power of prayer.
So he's on the mend. That's what we got from that. Ashton Jeanty is on the mend. And it's funny, as I was sitting there in the Intermountain Health Performance Center and listening to Clint Kubiak respond to that, all I could think about is John McClain, who joins us at 3:30 today, well before Clint Kubiak ever got hired and we were asking John about Clinton, just kind of give us a little bit of background. Remember, we went through all the different candidates that the Raiders had talked to, and John was saying how, hey, man, he's ready. He's going to be a really good head coach. His daddy wasn't a rah-rah guy. He's not going to be a rah-rah guy. He's a really good coach. And he said, but he ain't going to tell you nothing about injuries. He ain't going to tell you nothing about injuries, or he'll lie to you about injuries. His daddy did the same thing. They're not going to speak on injuries. No coach does. And all I could do is really not laugh out loud. Obviously didn't want to see him, he didn't see me laugh. But all I could do is inside just laugh, thinking, man, John McClain hit it right on the head. He's not going to give us anything when it came to injuries. And I credit everyone for asking him multiple different ways, and you saw he gave a little bit of response when Ryan McFadden from ESPN, asked him about avoiding a major injury. Sam Gordon, though, he got the good laughs when he asked, well, were the prayers answered? So, obviously they were, because it's clearly not something that's major when it comes to long-term. It's not something that, appears to be season-ending. Obviously, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose anything, but I'm sure that we would already have the, diagnosis if it was something that was going to be season-ending, or, and who knows? Who knows what that means? Does that mean he's going to miss a game? Does that mean he'll miss no games? Does that mean he'll miss 4 games? Like, we don't have any idea at this stage of the game, but from everything that, I've heard, from people like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, they're talking about it doesn't appear to be a high ankle sprain, which is even better. But, again, until we actually get some clarity, until someone tells us, we really don't know. So we wait. We wait and see what happens and find out when the information comes out when it does. But that's, the latest and the greatest. That's all we were able to get out of Coach. That's all he was willing to give us. And so that's where we stand at this stage of the game when it comes to the Ashton Jeanty injury. Didn't think we'd see him on Thursday anyway before the injury. Obviously, he's not going to see him on Thursday. Question is, will Mike Washington Jr. be out there? My gut feeling tells me no, but, again, I don't know how Clint Kubiak approaches the preseason. That's something that Lincoln Kennedy says all the time. Q, every time there's a new coach in town, we have to learn about their tendencies, how they treat the preseason. What do they do with game 1, game 2, game 3? How do they attack that, right? Brock Bowers isn't going to be playing. That's for sure. Max Crosby's not going to be playing. Clint let that be known, on Friday when he met with us by way of Zoom. He said something about Max. He said, everyone wants some reps, but I ain't going to give them none. So he let it be known that Max definitely wasn't going to get any preseason reps, and Brock Bowers is not going to get any on Thursday either. I'm very confident in that. Everybody else is kind of up in the air at this stage of the game. So there you go when it comes to Ashton Jeanty, who's been the guy that, as I've done so many different interviews on the Raiders over the past couple days, it's all been, so what's the latest with Jeanty? What's the latest with Jeanty? What's going on with Jeanty? That's all we know at this stage of the game. So I throw it out there to you, though, at 702-365-9200. Did want to ask you a question. I always like to bring a topic to the table. We're not going to see the team again until Thursday, right? There is no practice tomorrow, so we won't see him. There's no practice on Friday, and then to be announced on Saturday. We'll see some form of practice. We're anticipating some form of practice coming up on Saturday, and then Sunday will be the cutdown day. But since we won't see them again until Thursday in the final preseason game, what is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team? What is it that's still at the top of your mind? When people ask you, well, what about this Raiders team? How are you feeling this year? What is it that you still have a question or, like I said, a little uncertainty about when it comes to this Raiders team? Obviously, with me, it's, Jeanty and how long he's going to possibly miss. I mean, that's the obvious answer. That's the easy answer, right? That's my big question when it comes to this Raiders offense. But I also question the wide receiver room. And what I mean by that is not, are they good enough? But I had a dude, matter of fact, Patrick in Fresno asked me last night on the podcast, he asked me, who is the best wide receiver that you've seen out there right now? You're out there every day. Who's the best wide receiver? Not saying that they have to be the number one guy, but who's the best? And I started going through and thinking about it like, damn, that's a really good question. So to me, that is still my number one question when it comes to this team, offensively outside of injury to Ashton Jeanty is who's going to be the leading receiver? Not necessarily saying that they're a number one, right? I mean, I think we've already established that. But Trey Tucker has a certain, attribute that I believe is really good. Jack Besh, I believe he can continue to move the sticks. We saw that in preseason game number 1. Once the pads came on, you start to see him be a little bit more involved offensively. Dante Thornton Jr. is still in the back of a milk carton. We haven't seen him, so all he's doing is losing precious ground. I was at Fox 5 yesterday, and we did the TV show Sin City Beat, and one of the questions asked, they always ask the question about, well, who's going to be the surprise cut? And one of the guys that was on the panel was like Dante Thornton Jr. And I said, no way, right? Second-year guy, John Spytek drafted him, no way, right? Clint Kubiak has talked about him, coming back sooner rather than later. I can see him going on IR. I still don't see him getting cut, but man, he's missed a lot of time. He has missed a lot of time. I don't see him being a guy that they give up on after 1 year. I just think he has got too much of a skill set when it comes to size and speed. Like you just don't throw that out the door. But man, he's missing a lot of time. So I can easily see, depending on what they think the rest of the way, that maybe he's a guy that ends up on IR. I just hate that for him, that he hasn't even had a chance to really get out there and show what he can do in the preseason so far because of injury. So we know what Jack Best, we think we know what he could be as far as extending drives and moving the chains. Then I look at guys like Malik Benson, who's a 6th-round pick, who's looks the best, looks the most consistent in camp, but then we haven't seen him look the most consistent in the game. We've seen him put the ball on the ground a couple times, and one was just a really good play by a DB, another one was just a bad drop. So, is he doing really well just in camp, or is he, already the number one? And if he's already the number one as a 6th-round pick, that kind of that's a cause for concern when it comes to that room. Jalen Naylor, right, a guy that they went out and made a priority at the wide receiver position. He's shown up and appeared here and there, but it hasn't been anything that's just blown me away. So I'm real curious, not saying these guys can't get it done. I don't want it to be portrayed like that. I believe that they all have a role that they could play, but I'm very curious on who's going to be, when it's all said and done, who's going to be the wide receiver, not the pass catcher, but the wide receiver that ends up being number one for the Raiders this year. Who's going to be the guy with the most yards? Who's going to be the guy with the most touchdowns? Who's going to be the guy that QB1 can go to and feel consistently comfortable with? Who's that going to be? That's one of my big questions that I have still with this team. Obviously, that won't be answered on Thursday. That won't be answered on Friday. That won't be answered on Sunday. That won't be answered until the season gets going and we can see it. But those are the kind of questions that I'm looking for today. What is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this Raiders team? 702-365-9200. East Oakland Raiders said, it's good Coach doesn't spill any of the sauce. The opposition is listening. The run stop is what's giving me uncertainty. It's been scary this preseason and not in a good way. So East Oakland Raider is giving Coach Kubiak props on not mentioning anything when it comes to injuries, which is fair. Most coaches aren't going to go ahead and give you too much clarity. I would have liked to know, and if they feel pretty good that he avoided a major injury, it feels like he avoided a major injury. But every once in a while, it'd be nice to hear just he's going to be coming back sooner rather than later. It looks scary, but he's going to be coming back sooner rather than later. I do like his approach. Hey, man, we took a knee and we said a prayer. We said a prayer to our brother, right? I believe in the power of prayer. I'm good with that. I have no problem with that. I mean, again, and it just confirmed what we all said when we were standing there watching and observing what took place on Sunday there at the Raiders facility. And, the run stop, that's going to be, an area of concern. But, I kind of want to wait and see how that's going to look once, Miami gets to town, only because that the Raiders defense isn't doing anything right now that's showing anything. So it's so hard to judge how this, defense is looking when that Robbie Leonard is just basically running out there with the just basics. And I did feel more encouraged on Thursday last week against Houston that the Texans didn't come out and go 15 for 15 in the first half like the Cardinals did. Right? Now, they still had some success. Don't get me wrong. They had some success. They still were able to convert on 3rd and long, but they weren't 15 for 15. They didn't make Gardner Minshew, look like he was, he was Joe Montana, the second coming of Joe Montana. So they clearly looked better. I know Vinny Boston Europe always points out the play that Trayden Stukes made when it looked like it was going to be a big gainer, and Trayden just closed really quickly and had a nice tackle. I got to give Trayden Stukes a lot of props. He's a guy that people were questioning early on. And, how's he looking? Is he coming along? Haven't heard too much of him. He's been slowly but surely getting better. You see him getting more reps with the ones. You see him getting more comfortable out there. It looks like Trayden Stukes has taken the thinker helmet off and just goes playing the football helmet now. That's what it looks like to me. I want to say it started, And I remember coming back to the show and talking about this play he made in the end zone where he dove and broke up a pass in the corner of the end zone that definitely would have been a touchdown to Trey Tucker, I believe. And he just looked like he was so natural at breaking that ball up. And I remember I looked down the sideline for Mark McMillan, who was standing right there, and I said, now that's the kind of play you're looking for. And, of course, Mighty Mouse played cornerback at a very high level in the National Football League, looked at me and was like, yes, that's what I'm looking for. It seems like ever since he made that play, he's been really more comfortable out there, and the Raiders have been more comfortable putting him out there, getting more reps with the ones, right? I mean, he was out there with the run ones. We saw him with Isaiah Pola-Mao at times with the ones. We saw him out there with Jeremy Chin with the ones. He just looks like he's more and more comfortable in this scheme, in the NFL, just getting where he needs to go. And remember, he's one of the guys. I identified 2 guys from this Raiders draft class that weren't named Fernando Mendoza that I thought were day one starters. Trayden Stukes was one. Trey Zune was the other. Now, Trey Zune probably won't happen. He'll probably be super depth on this Raiders offensive line because he's so versatile. Can play multiple different positions, like he's been playing center with the second team, snapping the ball to Mendoza consistently lately. He's been doing that. So, he can be one of those guys that I definitely see him dressing out on game day because of that versatility that he has. And maybe he doesn't start right away, but he can go in and be Johnny on the spot if someone were happen to go down or they're just not doing their job to a level. I mean, I like Trey Zune a lot as well. Still think that he's going to get a lot of burn his rookie year with the silver and black. So we do want to hear from you again, 702-365-9200. Jimmy in Vancouver said, hey, Q and Ari, good afternoon, gentlemen. Good stuff as always. What is concerning to me is the wide receivers leading by a small margin over what happened to the running backs with Genty injury. Also, I just a footnote, I'm not sold on the place kicking, Jimmy in Vancouver. That's a good point. That's a good point on point 3. The place kicking. That does concern me as well. We saw Cash Money Carlson get signed by the Saints on yesterday. He is no longer an option. Sounds like he was never an option to begin with, right? Because if he was, they would have signed him. I just believe it's going to be the Matt Gay show this year. And, only because he hasn't been around and he hasn't been consistent for the last few years, it leaves me a little concerned with the consistency that he might have. Now, he might go out there and he might find that stroke again that he had when he was with the Rams, him and Joey D back together, and all of a sudden, nothing to see here, nothing to look at here. But what if he doesn't, right? I could tell you who's not going to get it, right? The Tokyo Toe's not going to get it, right? He's a guy that I do believe at best will probably be in the international, the Gateway program, just so he can stick around the team, stick around the roster like Lakitasi did and try to learn the NFL game a little bit if they feel like that there's a future there. Like, they're not just going to have him out there for no reason. They're not going to just have him out there like, oh, this is a fun story, let's keep him around. Like, if they don't believe that he can develop into something, they're not going to keep him around. But if they see a little something in him and maybe he just needs to get his confidence back, because to me it feels like that's all he's lost. Feels like he's just lost a little bit of his confidence. And confidence for any of us is crucial. Confidence for kickers, it's a non-negotiable. If a kicker ain't got confidence, he's cooked. It's just that simple, right? If you're a kicker and you ain't got no confidence, you are on an island by yourself. And guess what, brother? You ain't got no floaties on, right? So when you fall into the water, it's a sinking ship. It's just that simple. So he just, to me, just looking at him, seems like he needs to get his confidence back. And so they could see a path where he's, a guy that they believe in and trust in, and they could build him back up, or maybe not. But it's been a fun story to follow and monitor throughout the course of training camp and preseason. That's for sure. Charles in Oregon said, "What up, Q? I question whether or not the defense can stop the run. It's the second one for stopping the run. With the limited view we've had in 2 preseason games, it's concerning. Winning football comes from running the ball and stopping the run. Hopefully they'll figure it out. Go Raiders." That's Charles in Oregon. Yeah, again, it's really tough, as Robbie Leonard spoke yesterday to the media, really tough to see where they are at this stage because they're not putting too much out there. They just aren't. That's just the reality of it. There's not too much that's being put out there. When it comes to just stopping the run, you would think that it's just, basic tackling. But even then, they're working on certain things that we don't know what the game plan is when they get into these games or even training camp. And so it's one of these, you hope that it's a lot better than what we've seen. You hope that it's just preseason and it's just, training camp and it's not really a reality of what this defense is going to look like. But there's no doubt that, anyone should have some kind of concern just because they haven't been able to consistently stop the run. It seems like that, each team that they played, the Cardinals and the Texans, have both been able to run without too much resistance. So totally understand where you're coming from. I just want to see what it looks like once the season gets started and, once the Miami Dolphins come to town. Thanks so much for that. Do appreciate it. 702-365-9200. Keep that feedback coming. Let us know your thoughts. Now that we will not see this team again until Thursday, which is the final preseason game, what is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team? I also real quick want to tell you about tomorrow's show, PT's Tavern. Come on out, 903 East Lake Mead Parkway in Henderson. So if you're in town, if you're around town, if you're coming to town, definitely encourage you to come on out and hang out with us. $3 Blue Moon and Coors Light pints, $4 Modelo pints, $20 Topo Chico buckets. You can win free tickets to catch a game at Allegiant Stadium, along with a $100 Allegiant bar credit, $100 Uber credit, and team gear to wear throughout the game. Your home for football is at PT's Gold, PT's Place, Great American Pub, Lucky's, and Sierra Gold. And again, 2 to 5 p.m. tomorrow, 903 East Lake Mead Parkway in Henderson. Come on out, hang out with your boy. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we'll do it with RaiderNation Radio 920.
That was the opening drive of Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920 AM. Brought to you by Paul Padala. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
Little Jordan Meredith right there on Fernando Mendoza being under center. Had a nice little calm, cool type of sound coming in. But whenever you have a sound like that here on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920, that could only mean one thing. That could mean our brother Paul Gutierrez, Paul G from Raiders.com, has joined us on the phone line as he's doing that now. And Paul G, thanks so much for the time. Appreciate you. Before we get going, anything Raiders, how has been the move? Have you got your daughter all settled there in college? What's going on with that situation?
Yeah, she is settled in, and I'll tell you what, man, when you're taking your second off to college and it's baby girl, it makes it a little bit tougher, a little bit different feel than dropping baby boy off, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
She's down in San Diego way, and, and a lot of people, giving me grief saying, are you okay with her being a San Diego State Aztec? I'm like, look, man, they're in a different conference now, and, family's family. So yeah, and I was an Aztec in high school too, so it's all good.
Yeah, you might also – you might also have to be right out there in the bushes to make sure that, baby girl is good, man. You got to make sure, you might have to camp out for a few days. I'm just saying, if you need some backup, I got your back. I'm just saying.
That's why we go to the gym still, right, Q? That's why we still got to work on it. Even if we don't know karate, I know you know crazy. So there we are.
Exactly. I am all things crazy for sure. There's no doubt about that. Paul G is with us here. RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. So the Raiders are in the last week of, the preseason. Their final game comes up on Thursday against the 49ers. You obviously know the news about Ashton Jeanty going down on Sunday. When you heard about him leaving practice early, helping off by the trainers, what went through your mind?
Yeah, I wasn't there, so I'm not going to try to pretend like a lot of other people do that they were there and saw things and described the scene. But I'm going to go on the reporters that were there. And, yeah, when you see that headline, you see the tweets start to come out, you're like, oh, no, what's it really about? But I've also been doing this long enough, Q, to sit and wait until the information becomes clear. Yeah. And when it depends upon if it's and again, been doing this long enough. You've been doing it long enough to know that when certain information comes out, it's usually leaked either by agents, GMs, what have you. And, being a team employee, there's a lot of information that is very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like selective, I guess. Yep. Privileged information. So my knee-jerk reaction was, oh, no, what happened? You want to talk to people that were there, that saw it, what exactly? And the secondary and third reports that have been coming out have been less severe. So it really is just kind of take a deep breath and wait. So I'll tell you the one thing that annoys me the most beyond what I mentioned earlier is getting all the texts from friends who have fantasy football teams asking me what I think. I'm like, dude, I don't play fantasy football for exactly this reason. Yep. So leave me alone. Let Ashton be on the mend. Let him do his thing. And I guess that there's kind of a silver lining in a black cloud, so to speak. It's that Washington has looked really good in the preseason. Does that mean he's capable of being a running back number one? I don't know. But that's why you have a roster, and that's why there is always that motto of next man up. And you'd hate to say that for a guy that's a franchise running back, but you just kind of wait and see. And everything that I've heard is that we'll just wait and see. That's all I can really say at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's all that any of us could really do. And Clint Kubiak didn't tell us too much today, except for he's on the mend. And that's kind of what I expected him, was to just kind of, dance around, or not even dance around, just basically say, I'm not going to say anything when it comes to injuries. And that's exactly what he did. But to your point about Washington, I don't think he's Ashton Genty. Like, I'm not trying to make that comparison, but he has looked good. And I do think that he's a very talented back. So at least that can help maybe weather the storm for a while, if in fact Genty's going to miss some time.
Yeah, especially with that long run he broke off against the Cardinals in the exhibition opener. I mean, and again, it all starts up front with the big uglies, with the guys on the offensive line opening the hole, and then his vision and his ability to cut and take off. It would have been nice to see that, being an Arkansas guy, to see that Darren McFadden breakaway speed at the end, but you take what you can get. And he's a big guy, he's a fast guy, and, the bugaboo of the ball security that really kind of haunted him through college hasn't really reared its head yet, at least not in the exhibition season. So we'll see what they have to do. And then that's the thing about this 49er exhibition, because I hesitate to call it a game, but anytime you strap it up and you go on the field, you always want to win and do well, right? So whoever's out there playing, wearing the Raider uniforms and the 49er uniforms, I just hope that both teams stay away from that power substation in Santa Clara, because that thing is doing wonders on the 49ers, all the way up from the players all the way up to the top. So, it's going to be real interesting to see this thing on Thursday.
Yeah, man, that substation is a powerful, powerful thing, man. I mean, I'm telling you.
I have its own Twitter account now, too.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. Of course it does. Paul Gutierrez is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. Now, I asked Clint Kubiak how he approaches the preseason game number 3. Of course, he didn't give me an answer to it. He just said we'll wait and see. But how would you approach this one, knowing what you know about this team at this stage of the game, seeing how they put some ones out there in preseason game number 2? What would your approach be to this one? How would you do it?
I would just try to get out of Dodge. Just, you're going to play a bunch of guys out there that are fringe roster guys. You got to really work on your special teams to see who's going to do that. I would hesitate to even put a quality backup, and that sounds terrible, right? And I don't mean it that way. It's not to disparage anybody, but do you really want to put Fernando Mendoza out there with a third-string offensive line against a guy that's trying to make a roster and make a name for himself? No. So unless you're going ones and quality twos, for lack of a better term, I think you just go out there and just try to get through the night, and you try to work on scheme things to see how guys react, and let the starters watch from the sidelines and try to coach guys up, because seeing it that way is a different animal from being in it and playing it. Nothing's going to really replace that, obviously, but it's an opportunity to kind of put your coaching hat on it and see things. So that's what I'm looking for. But again, when you have the rivalry, the old Bay Area rivalry, between the Raiders and the 49ers, everything goes out the windows. And there may be actually more action, more histrionics going on off the field than on the field between fans. But I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that, the preseason, let's just get to the 18-game season so we don't have 2 preseason games, I guess. Right. I still like the 16-game schedule with 4 preseason. But that's the other thing. I know I'm going on a tangent here, Q, but I'm old enough to remember when they played 14 regular season games and they played 6 preseason. They've always been playing 20 games however you factor it in. So it's again, just something to kind of chew on as we go forward. Because if and when they go to 18, you gotta build in 2 byes. And again, I'm old enough to remember in 1990 when they had 2 byes in the regular season for a 16-game season.
Hey, look, I'm good with the 18 games and the 2 byes as opposed to, like you said, the 3 preseason games. And yeah, I'm good with that. That'll work for me. You mentioned Fernando Mendoza. We saw him last week against Houston. We saw him have that pick 6, and then we saw him bounce back. What did you think about the bounce back, the way that he kind of cleared his memory and just went about his business after that?
That's exactly who he is, and that's I believe that's what the Raiders knew they were getting when they drafted him. Because if you look back, and I'm not going to claim to be some big Fernando Mendoza fan who's been watching him since he was playing at Cal, but I do remember thinking when Cal played UNLV in the LA Bowl, he opted out because he was transferring to Indiana. So, and especially last season, I'm not going to say he was a slow starter, but he was kind of a deliberate starter. Mm-hmm. And especially like in that Miami game. It took him a while to get going, and then once he started getting hit and knocked around in the pocket, boom, a switch flipped, and he woke up and took off. And you're kind of seeing that now in these preseason games, exhibitions, that if something bad, he gets off to kind of a relatively slow start, and then something bad happens, and then it's like, okay, boom, we got to go. And you don't want to have to do that, but that's a sign of a young player that's maturing and progressing. And as I've said from day one, when we went out there for rookie minicamp, I think you and I were standing there watching it. It was like, look how deliberate the Raiders are being with it. I'm not saying they're bringing him along slow or baby steps or anything. They're being very deliberate with his development. And that's part of the plan that goes all the way back to before they drafted him, before they signed Kirk Cousins. Clint Kubiak said it himself, in a perfect world, a rookie doesn't start on day one. He sits and learns behind a veteran who's done it. Where are we right now? We're right in the middle of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on right there. Paul Gutierrez, Raiders.com with us here. Raider Nation Radio 920. I asked the question, what is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team? And we've had a few answers saying the run defense because of what we've seen so far in 2 preseason games. How much do you think Robbie Leonard and the defense can show right now being in the preseason as opposed to what they'll see week 1 when the Dolphins are in town?
Well, it's the same thing. If you're not playing your starters and it's guys that are fringe roster guys and guys that won't even be in the league in a week, what are we talking about? And that's why, to me, it's still the biggest thing that I have a question about, if it's me personally, it's the offensive line. Because we've only seen them play one series against live competition. And other than that, that has to be the biggest question. If that was your biggest question coming into the offseason, which it was for me, then it has to remain your biggest question because anything that's been going on out there has been with backups and guys that won't be on the team. So what are we really talking about other than scheme and vision and a mentality? And that's always a good thing. That's good stuff, especially for guys that are going to be on the practice squad next week. But to me, it's more so the offensive line because that was the biggest question coming in, and we've only seen that unit work together one series, and we still don't know really who the right guard is going to be starting.
One of my biggest questions was about the wide receiver room and who was going to end up just leading the team in receptions or yards as that wide receiver, not the pass catcher. We know that's going to be Brock as long as he stays healthy, but just the wide receivers because I haven't seen anyone really separate themselves. They all have their own separate skill set. So, I mean, is there a guy that you have your eye on or a couple guys that you think, hey, they might be the leaders in the clubhouse in the wide receiver room?
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too. I mean, the fact that Kubiak called out the receivers by position, by saying that, nobody's really stepped up. But then again, it's like, well, none of the starters played at Houston either. So, what are we talking about? I get it. I understand it. But to answer your question, I think Trey Tucker is both the inspirational leader and the physical leader of that room. It's hard when you're not the prototypical ex-receiver, but he is definitely the leader of that room, and I think he's shown that he can do a lot of different things out there on the field. He's not just a slot guy. He can play on the outside. He can go the go routes, the digs, everything else. So he's a guy that's beyond just being a veteran in that room and having played in so many different schemes since he got here. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Josh McDaniels draft him? So, I mean, that's how long he's been with the program, so to speak.
Right.
But then, Malik Benson has looked good in practice. I know you were talking about this the other day. Is a couple of drops and putting the ball on the ground in Houston. That's kind of unfortunate there. But they're still waiting for somebody to really step up and be that guy. But I don't believe the timer is that not important. It's not as daunting a task when you do have a Brock Bowers. And if Brock is being double covered, you also have Michael Mayer in 12 personnel. So that to me is what's real interesting about is it really, yes, it's important, but is it life and death with that receiver room because of the other pass catchers you have?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, with Brock, he's always open. I mean, even today when we just see him going up against, Eric Stokes, or it doesn't matter who's lining up across from him. Even Eric Stokes had a good laugh the other day when I asked him about Brock always being open. He's like, he's always open. Like, this dude is incredible. Paul, I think at times we kind of underestimate how great Brock really is. This dude is incredible. Any team would love to have this guy.
Yeah, and we'll just start calling him 7-Eleven. And I don't know if the younger generation of your listeners would understand that reference. But, yeah, he's always open, 7-Eleven. Yep. You just go to the store whenever you want because it's always open. He's so nondescript in how he does it. And it's funny, being from Napa, not necessarily a football hotbed, but to go from Napa to Georgia in the middle of the pandemic and to really carve, the dude was just different. And, you have a conversation with him, and he doesn't come across as somebody that's already, as a rookie, been a first-team All-Pro. And, the sky's the limit. And the way everything happened last year, and got hurt in that very first game and had to play through it throughout the season when he was able to get on the field. So, yeah, it's a luxury to have somebody like that. And, maybe he's just really bringing in this new golden age of the tight end after the most recent golden age of tight ends that we've had.
Yeah, he's incredible. He really is. He just blows my mind every time I see him out there. He's just always thinking open and always making it look so easy. Well, we'll close out with this on Thursday. Not only is it the final preseason game, but it's also Alumni Day. And you've been around plenty of times. You're like you say, you're old enough to remember a lot of these dudes, when they were daunting the silver and black. How special is this day for the Raider alumni, but also for Mr. Davis?
Huge. And that's what this whole thing is about. And as Mark Davis says all the time, the Raiders' biggest strength is in its alumni and recognizing them and taking care of them. And they will tell you the same thing. I mean, just sitting here in the building right now, working on some stuff, did a podcast today, walking down the stairs, I look up, oh, there's Matt Millen. Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Right.
With all your Super Bowl rings and everything you meant to this organization and the league itself. It's really crazy. And it's like you said about Brock Bowers. You can take it for granted. But you try not to. And with all those guys coming in this week, and there's a couple of events around town, I've been, I'll probably go to a couple of events with them, which would be pretty cool to write about for Raiders.com. It's just something that's real special that nobody in the NFL does like the Raiders. And, when you're able, they always say, don't meet your heroes because you might be disappointed. That's not necessarily the case at all for me growing up, as a child of the Plunkett and Marcus Allen and Cliff Branch and like I mentioned, Matt Millen and Lyle Alzado, and the list goes on and on and on. Howie Long, to see those guys is always really, really cool.
Yeah, it is. It is. I look forward to it on Thursday, seeing the Win Club filled with a bunch of former Raiders who will definitely have a lot of fun out there at the stadium. Well, great stuff. You mentioned you were at the facility working on some things. What are you working on? What have you knocked out that we should be on the lookout for?
Podcast with Caleb Rogers drops this afternoon, I believe. If not tonight, then tomorrow.
Nice.
But, yeah, we sat down and we talked for a good 15-plus minutes about everything from the tough questions that his daughter asked him when he was at the podium last week to, just what this training camp has been to him like in his year 2 in the NFL and the position battle that he's in with Jackson Powers-Johnson for that starting right guard spot. So don't want to give away too much, but, yeah, we hit on a lot of different things in the course of 20 minutes, and I'm going to write a column off of it as well.
Nice. Well, we'll definitely be on the lookout. We'll be paying attention to that. Good stuff, and that is a really good battle between JPJ and Caleb Rogers. Good stuff, Paul, as always, man. Thanks so much. I'll see you on Thursday. I appreciate you.
Yeah, same here. And you didn't even mention anything with the song I chose. I thought somebody was going to pull out some cardboard in the middle of the street somewhere. I don't know.
I was too focused in. I was locked in on your daughter going to school, and I lost my musical focus. That happens. You know how that goes.
Paul Hardcastle, Rainforest,
There it is. There it is. There it is. Appreciate you as always, brother. Great stuff. Right. Great stuff right there. Paul G, Raiders.com, Paul Gutierrez, and definitely check out that podcast he did with Caleb Rogers. Caleb's a really good talker. I always appreciate the time that we get with him in the locker room or post-practice or whatever the case may be, and definitely looking forward to Alumni Day coming up on Thursday at Allegiant Stadium as the Raiders close out the preseason against the 49ers. Of course, you can hear that game right here on RaiderNation Radio 920. We'll hear from you as we close out hour number 1. We'll do that next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
No tackle attempts, so let's just protect the football. Let's start there. But look, just continue to grow. I think you've seen him do things he did not have a lot of experience doing, and he's looking more comfortable with each and every week. So I don't expect him to be the starter. I know that's been discussed.
Yeah.
Don't put that pressure on yourself. Just keep getting better. Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Here's a good throw, and that's Naylor with a catch and a first down. And that was a rocket from the right hand of Mendoza, the first down of the night.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
You hear DJ right there, Daniel Jeremiah, talking about Fernando Mendoza. Then you hear a strike from Fernando Mendoza to Jalen Naylor. That was against the Houston Texans last Thursday, preseason game number 2. Now we're just about up against it when it comes to preseason game number 3, with that taking place on Thursday at Allegiant Stadium. We threw the question out there. We won't see the team until that game, that final preseason game. What is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team. 702-365-9200 here on Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. Let's hear from our guy, Juan the Smasher. Big Juan, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
What's up, Q? What's going on?
I'm chilling, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm out here trying to get a Q, and I'm just glad that my boy actually Dutty, he's all right. We just dodged the bullet because every offseason is always a gut punch being a Raiders fan. If it's not one thing, it's another. But you know what? I'm born for this, and I'm ready for this. And I just want to see this defense to play good and get some stops. And I hope that Genty could come back like in against the Chiefs. That'll be sweet because I'm gonna be there. And other than that, I think this team is ready to make some noise and just play some solid defense, get some stops, and get the ball back to the offense. And it's time for Mike Washington to step up and be the man. You know what I'm saying? And I can't wait for week 1. I'm excited. And thank you for everything you do, Q. Raiders.
There he goes, Juan the Smasher. Quick, fast, and to the point right there by my man. Not mad at that at all. We got Lincoln Kennedy coming up at the top of the hour. Threw the question out there. What is it that you still question or not sure about when it comes to this team? Barry in Baltimore said, my uncertainty with the Raiders is the wide receiver position. Hoping they can make a waiver claim and get a wide receiver if there's a surprise cut. Not saying that they're going to find a number 1 wide receiver that way, but just to improve the room in general. That's our guy, Barry in Baltimore. Keep that feedback coming. 702-365-9200. One of those Raider alumni is Lincoln Kennedy. He joins us next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Yeah, I think everybody helps each other. Even today, there's been a couple times where we're get done with the play and we get back in the huddle. Just before we get back in the huddle, or right when we get back in the huddle, just going through and be like, hey, what'd you see? What happened? Or the tackles being like, hey, it's 3rd and 7 or 2nd and 9, and other guards or everybody else talking, hey, nickel's in the game or base is in the game. And so I think everybody's done a good job, helping out one another, make sure that we're on the same page.
Right now, we're doing football right on Unnecessary Roughness. Brought to you by Meineke, doing car care right.
And as we do football right, there's only one way to do football right. That's by talking to the professor. That's Lincoln Kennedy, former Raiders offensive lineman, longtime offensive lineman, and, of course, just all things a wealth of knowledge here as he joins us on Unnecessary Roughness on RaiderNation Radio 920. And Big Link, it's always great to catch up with you, my man. Do appreciate you. Before I get into anything football related, this game coming up on Thursday, what to expect, all that. On Thursday, it's Alumni Day, and I know that's a special day for you. What does this day mean when your brothers all come back and you get to hang and meet and greet with them and just spend some time with them? Again, Alumni Day with the Raiders.
Well, the Raiders do it differently than any other team that I've ever been exposed to or that I heard from. And we do it right. Once a Raider, always a Raider. So it doesn't matter if you played, one game or one season or like I did, 9 seasons with the Raiders or 8 seasons with the Raiders. You're just out there, and it's good to have that camaraderie. It's a fraternal order, so it doesn't matter what time that you played at. Once you're there, you're amongst friends. You get the chance to catch up and see how guys are been aging after they left the game.
How does it? I guess I don't want to say how does it resonate, but just Mark Davis always embracing the alumni, making sure that, like you said, the Raiders do it different than any other organization in the league. When you just talk to Mark, why does this mean so much to him?
Because Mark grew up with the Raiders. Once upon a time, he was Cliff France's agent. His father, obviously, owned the Raiders from start to finish until he was gone. And so, extending that hand of gratuity and just faithfulness in the Raider way, really makes a difference. We extended, whether it's the wellness program or the alumni program, and we have this weekend that comes up. It's been growing every year. It's been getting bigger and bigger. There have been more and more guys that come to it. And like I said, I like it because you get a chance to reconnect with some long-lost teammates, even some guys you don't know. You get a chance to still come together under the Raider banner and enjoy time together.
Does it mean a little bit more because the 49ers are in town playing that game?
Well, look, it's always been the Battle of the Bay, even though we're in Vegas now, but it still resonates. We don't like the 49ers. They don't like us. The fan bases, they jump back and forth. So it's recognized and respected both times. And so, when you have that, that game, whether you played in a regular season or preseason, it should be impactful. It should be a lot of utility. And more importantly, you're hoping that you get the best product out there because there's always bragging rights.
Lincoln Kennedy is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. So we always talk about coaches and how they approach the preseason, and obviously this is Clint Kubiak's first year with the Raiders. How do you think that he approaches this game on Thursday?
Well, I doubt very seriously after the injury to Ashton-Jeanty that you see any of your starters. But this is also a good time to sort of finalize the roster and make an impact for guys like for special teams and stuff like that. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. Look, when I think about the Raiders special teams, the biggest concern I have right now, other than is probably in special teams. It's not just the kicking game, but it's just the special teams. I think we needed two good gunners. I don't know if we have that yet. And if, changing the field, with AJ is going to be one of those things that we do, notoriously, then we're going to have good gunners. We're going to have good special teams. I don't think we've seen that yet. So that's something I'm hoping this game will finalize.
No, that's a good point. I hadn't heard that one brought up yet, as I did ask the question, what is the question that you still have about this team? What is it that you're not sure of? Special teams is a great answer, right? We've heard the kicking game, and I'll even ask you about the kicking game. I know you don't talk about kickers too often, but, at one point we got comfortable, and we got, very, very relaxed because we knew Daniel Carlson was what we call cash money. I feel like Lincoln's a little concerning now just because we don't know how consistent Matt Gay is going to be. Am I wrong there?
Well, you're not wrong there. You're absolutely right. And you have every reason to be concerned when you think about it, because in all honesty, if it comes down to this offense struggling, you have to get threes, you have to get points on the board. Right now, I don't know if we can totally rely on that. And so, that's always a question mark. There are three phases to football, as you know: offense, defense, and you cannot forget special teams. So they're equal important part to the game, and it has to be handled. It has to be handled right. You got to have guys out there that you can rely on. I don't know if we have that just yet.
We always talk about the offensive line when we have you, and we always appreciate your knowledge and breakdowns of it. How much do you think we can maybe see how this competition gets wrapped up on Thursday, or if it gets wrapped up on Thursday?
I don't know if it gets wrapped up on Thursday. I don't really know what you can expect if you're not going to play your starters. Mm-hmm. So, look, I'm just hoping for a fun, entertaining evening, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I do. Well, if that's the case, if it's not wrapped up, how quickly would you expect to see, an offensive line come together, knowing you got a game coming up on September 13th?
Well, you're hopeful, but because you have a very I wouldn't even say you had somewhat of a mixed result when you preseason. I don't know how you really evaluate where you are. I thought they had a good week of practice. I was here for the week of practice, and I thought it looked good. But now it has to translate in the game, and I'm hoping for the best.
You mentioned Ashton-Jeanty going down on Sunday, and me and you were texting about that. I saw you at practice on Sunday.
Yeah.
We don't know the severity. We don't know if he's going to miss some time or how much he's going to miss, but how much now is on Mike Washington's plate, and how much do you think he can handle as a rookie?
Well, he's going to have to handle that entire running back room, with Dylan Lobby and everyone else. They're going to have to be able to get through this game. You're hoping, that you get through this game relatively injury-free collectively. But at the same point, you do worry about your starters. You worry about the future. We also have to worry about just the overall collective mentality of the team. And I think, Clint Kubiak and his staff has done a good job of that.
What do you think about just the impact that it could have on this offense if, Ashton misses a significant amount of time?
Well, it's hard to quantify because it's a brand-new offense. So we don't really know what to expect. I don't really think we've seen a lot of the offensive playbook. But, you look collectively at this style of offense. Green Bay runs it, San Francisco runs it. So this week in practice, they did good. I thought they did a good job at handling both sides of it, not only preparing for what the Raiders want to do, but also what the 49ers are going to do to them. So I think it's a great test.
Lincoln Kennedy is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. Some of the responses that we got on the text line was we're concerned about stopping the run because we haven't seen them stop the run through 2 preseason games. Where is that level of concern for you, and is it just because it's vanilla in the preseason?
Well, it's still concerning when you can't, we haven't had a lot of teams that have come in and played the Raiders, did a lot of punting. The Raiders did more punting than they did throughout the preseason. So, there is a collection of a concern, especially for me, where this game stands. But you also know how I do things, Q, because I've always said I need the first month of football to evaluate where this team is. I'm still relying and holding on to that.
Yeah, no, I got you. And that first 4 games is definitely going to be interesting and intriguing to see exactly how it plays out. how would you play that when it comes to the quarterback position? Would you maybe look at Kirk Cousins for the first 4 games for sure just to see how it plays out, or is it kind of week to week?
Kirk Cousins is my starter. I don't have to feel the sense of urgency of putting Fernando out there. I know that he's had, pretty solid outings except for the pick 6 last week in Houston, but at the same point, you don't need to expose him until you truly understand the tenacity and the capability of this offensive line.
What did you learn from him when he threw that pick 6 and then he went back out there and looked like he bounced back?
Well, it showed that he's a professional. It's not going to allow one play to get the best of him. That's what you want from your quarterback. It doesn't matter if he's a rookie or a 10-year starter. You want to be able to wash that play away. Look, I made a mistake. I saw where I made a mistake. You understand the high, test point in the NFL. You can't throw it that far in front of him. You can't throw it that far behind him. Anytime, it's not going to be good. So I'm hoping, and we saw from the way he responded for the rest of the game, we saw a valuable lesson. I think he took it to heart.
Lincoln Kennedy is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. Unnecessary Roughness. We'll close out with this. I asked you after the first practice that you saw, what did you think about the buy-in? You said it's the first practice. I got to see some more. Have you seen enough to understand if the team has buy-in or not?
I do believe they bought in. Now it's talking about implementing, because you never know how good you are until you play against someone else. The Raiders were fortunate enough to come away with a win last week in Houston, but at the same point, it's just preseason. So you can only take it, with a grain of salt. You move forward. It'll be an interesting test Thursday night. Even though I don't expect them to play their starters, it'll just be an interesting test to see how fired up the guys get to play a rival.
Got to ask you, Link, as you have all your alumni brethren around you, who's going to tell the biggest lies? Who tells the best lies out there amongst all the brothers?
Who tells the best lies? Well, we got to go down to the divas, the wide receivers, right? Not necessarily Tim Brown, but other guys. They want to tell how great they were and everything else, and how open they were. So all the time, even though they were triple covered. And man, I was open all the time. If Rich would have got me the ball, I would have really scored bazillion touchdowns. But I had the pleasure of playing with some great guys. Jerry Rice, Tim Brown, to name a few, and all over. But I'm just anxious to see my guys, my big boys. Whether it's Steve Wisniewski or some of the other ones. We lost a good one earlier this year, in Barrett Robbins. And, I look at every time I go in my office, I look up on my wall, I've got my starting line, and now there's only 3 of us that's still living. And, it's good to be able to reconnect and to be able to tell those stories, but more importantly, it's just good to hang out.
Hang out and get some hugs and tell each other that you love each other, because like you said, man, only a couple of your brothers are still around, and that's just how it is. We never, ever know when our time is going to be called. So, Link, fantastic stuff, man. I know you're going to have a great time catching up with your guys, and we'll have a great time on the pregame show and the postgame show as well. So thank you so much, my man.
It sounds like a plan, my man. I'll see you soon.
All right, appreciate you. Great stuff, as always. Lincoln Kennedy right there. And, yeah, man, that's awesome that the Raiders really lean into the alumni. And, from every player that we talk to, again, a guy that played 10, 12 years with the team or 10, 12 days with the team, right? They all embrace and lean into the fact that the Raiders do it like no other team. And we'll see it all on display. And if you're, lucky enough to make it to the game on Thursday, just do yourself a favor. At any point during the game, do yourself a favor and look down at the Win Club. And when you see the Win Club, you're not going to see what you see sometimes where everyone's partying it up, doing it real big like a club. They're going to be partying it up, but it's going to be a ton of alumni. It's just going to hit different. When you realize, like, this team that I've been rooting for my whole life, this team that, I'm arguing at the barbershop, I'm arguing in the bar, I'm arguing at the crib with my family members, about, a lot of those dudes that you have their jersey, you've cheered them on, whatever, are all going to be right there in the Win Club, hanging out, from all-time greats, Hall of Famers, to guys that have had just a cup of coffee with the team. But that is what has built this organization, and as Mark Davis always leans into the alumni, and I love the fact that he does it. And all I could do is really go back to Cliff Branch's Hall of Fame party, and rest in peace to Cliff Branch. Unfortunately, wasn't there to enjoy it, but just knowing how massive and how no dollar was, just they're all expenses were in. Like, it didn't matter what it cost. It didn't matter. It was just going to make sure that they had one hell of a party for Cliff Branch, and they did. From Diana Ross singing to, just everything. That was an incredible. And I've been to a few Hall of Fame parties, right? I've been to Jerry Jones. I've been to LaDainian Tomlinson. I've been to many different parties, but that one just hit differently. That was fantastic. And man, I'm trying to tell you, if you just don't understand how much Mark Davis really leans into and loves the Raider alumni, man, that was a perfect example. Of course, Cliff Branch was his guy as well, and that was one of those that you just can't top it. Remember getting there and hanging out like, wow, this is what's this is what's going on here. This here is fantastic. So many thanks to Link. Definitely appreciate him as always. Want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We got John McClain talking all things NFL. Of course, we'll get his thoughts on what he saw last week, Raiders and Texans there in Houston. We'll do that coming up in about 15 minutes or so. But again, want to hear from you as we threw it out there to you at 702-365-9200. What is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team? We will not see another practice until we see them back out on the field at Allegiant coming up on Thursday, preseason game number 3. Brent hit us up and said, if I'm being honest, my biggest concern is any offensive linemen go down, we're back in the same boat as last year. I know we addressed it in the draft and free agency, but other than Linderbaum and Burford, we have a lot of the same guys from last year. It's going to come down to Rick Dennison whipping these guys into shape and really coming together as a unit. Another concern is the defense not forcing a lot of turnovers this preseason. I hope that change comes through the regular season. That's from our guy Brent. I'm not worried about them not causing a lot of turnovers. Of course, we always want to see turnovers, but to Link's point, there wasn't a lot of punting going on. Now that is definitely a concern. Because there was multiple times that we've seen so far in 2 preseason games, it's been 3rd and long, 2nd and long, and they just can't get off the field. That, to me, is a concern. That, to me, is a trend, just like, the concern when people say stopping the run, right? Because that, again, is just – a lot of times that's not even really scheme. That's just point of attack tackling. And it wasn't happening, and the tackling, especially in the first game against the Cardinals, the missed tackles were really bad. But then I guess you kind of expect that as things go, since it's the first preseason game, so you're hoping that gets cleaned up. And it's so hard to determine, we'll talk about it on Thursday, and we'll have a short show on Thursday. JT will go 12 to 2. This show will be 2 to 3, and then we'll go right into the pregame show with myself and Lincoln Kennedy, 3 to 5 p.m. We'll talk about it. What do you want to see in tonight's game? But who the hell's playing? That's the big question I have. It's hard to say what I want to see in this game coming up on Thursday when I don't know who's playing. And, I have no idea. I'm expecting all the main players to be in bubble wrap. I'm expecting all the, all the ones and a lot of the twos not to be out there at all. We were talking today at the facility. Q, you think we're going to see Mendoza on Thursday? If you see him at all, and that's a big if, in caps, maybe a series, maybe 2 at best. And then it's the not Ashton Genty, excuse me. It's the Aiden O'Connell show, and then Jacob Clark will maybe get a quarter or a couple drives. I honestly would be shocked to see Fernando Mendoza out there at all, right? Just because, again, I don't expect to see the starting offensive line. I don't expect to see the second team offensive line. There's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be in bubble wrap based off of where they are already on the 53-man roster. That will be determined and cut down to that 53-man by Sunday afternoon, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. So to me, I wouldn't really risk putting Mendoza out there if I have guys protecting him that I'm not too sure about. And especially as Paul G brought it up in the first hour of the show, there's guys on the other team that are going to be trying to make that team. And they might try to make that team by taking your guy out, not in a dirty way, but just trying to make a play. Right? What do we always say? Make them remember you. Well, what's a great way to make them remember you? Make a play on the quarterback. Make a big hit. Make, a big play, something that, oh, man, remember when that happened? And so you don't want to put your guy in harm's way, but that's just me. So, yeah, the lack of punting, I think Lincoln brought it up. That was a great point. The lack of punts that the opponents have had so far in the preseason against the Raiders is not enough because they've had opportunities to get off the field. They just haven't been able to make that happen. We got a text from our guy, Just Win Will. He said, great question, Q. Here I go. Overall depth everywhere. And those linebackers, Q. Who is guarding the middle of the field? Can Lobby be running back 2 if needed? Can the wide receivers on the staff silence the noise? Can Cash Money Carlson please get cut by the Saints and we use our number 1 waiver priority to bring him home? Lord, please, Q. I have a question for you. Who, in your opinion, has had the best camp and who's had the worst camp? Thanks for everything. Appreciate all the hard work you guys do. Aloha, Raiders. It's just win, Will. Really good stuff there. And I'll start with Dylan Lobby. Can he be running back 2 if needed? And the only reason I'm starting there is because I spent a lot of time today at practice talking about this. And I don't want this to sound disrespectful, but I don't think so. I just don't. I think Dylan Lobby's a really good special teams guy. And there's a really good role for him on the team. It just seems like, to me, and again, it's just my personal opinion, it just seems like everything that he does offensively is just hard to get going. You know, I mean, the speed of the game is so fast, and he works his tail off. Like, I can never take anything away from him, the way he works, the way he contributes. I just don't see an offensive role. I don't see a guy that, if he's in the game, opposing defenses are super concerned. You know what I mean? Like, again, and I know it's coming off sounding disrespectful. Even as I say it, I say, damn, I can't make it sound a little nicer. Right? I mean, it sounds mean, but I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to be honest. Right? I just think that he's a really good special teams player. And I guess if honesty sounds mean, then so be it. But I'm not trying to come off like that. I don't think this guy gets cut from the team. Let's put it like that. I think he makes the team. I just think he's a special teams ace. So the question is, if Genty's going to miss a significant amount of time and you're leaning on Mike Washington to be running back 1, who's next? Who is running back 2? Now, me and Vinny Bonsignore share different opinions. He believes that Dylan Lobby has a big role as a guy on offense and can contribute on offense. Like I said, I don't share those same views, which is okay. We don't have to all be in agreement. I could be wrong. I've been wrong about Dylan Lobby before. Matter of fact, I bet a bone-in ribeye steak that he was going to be a big contributor, and I was only proven to be wrong. So, you know, and look, I've written guys off before that have proven to be the real deal and proven to be really good players. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I cut Amik Robertson when he was on the team. And I even told him that in the locker room. I was like, man, I thought last night was going to be your last game. Or I thought, you know, last week was going to be your last game. And here you are. And he's like, man, you ain't the only one. A lot of people did. You're just the only one that's honest about it. So, you know, maybe Dylan could be a second team back. I just don't see it. Again, just me being honest about the situation. The linebackers, I do feel like they'll do a better job covering the middle of the field as opposed to what we've seen the last few years. I think that Robbie Leonard really does truly know that that's been a problem for the Raiders for quite a while. And the addition of Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean is a big deal. Now, I know the depth, that's been something that you've been questioning for a while when it comes to the linebackers, and that's fair. Until proven otherwise, that's fair. But I do believe that you'll see a much better job covering the middle of the field as opposed to what we've seen the past few years. But it's funny that you mentioned that, the middle of the field. Ryan Hogue brings it up all the time in the press box, on the show, in passing, right? The guy who, the team that exposes the middle of the field, the team that exploits the middle of the field, the team that wins up in the middle of the field normally is the one that wins the game, right? If you could defend the middle of the field and you can capitalize in the middle of the field, you're probably going to win the game. Talks about it all the time. And for quite a while, we've seen the Raiders get exposed in the middle of the field. So that's not a invalid point that you bring up. That is for sure. Cash Money Carlson, I don't think he's going to get cut anytime soon. Don't see that happening, but I understand. And I was a little disappointed when I saw him get signed by the Saints. I was like, yeah, that's real. So it just kind of is what it is. Like I said, I haven't seen Matt Gay be that guy consistently with the team. So we're just waiting to see type approach. Again, if he's that guy he was with the Rams when he was with Joe DeCamillis to begin with, cool. Right? That was a really good kicker. Can he get back to that, as he mentioned when he met with us earlier this summer, saying, I'm just trying to get that stroke back. I'm trying to get back and hit that ball the same way that I was hitting it then. And he felt like there were some things that they did with his mechanics that got him back to where he's at. So, we might end up by the end of the season saying, man, that was a really good signing. Matt Gay turned out to be really good. So I don't want to, act like he can't do it. He's been there, done that. It's been proven already in the National Football League. But he did have a little bit of a lull, and now he's trying to bounce back. As far as who's had the best camp, that's hard to say. Brock. Brock has been Mr. Uncoverable. but you kind of expect that from him. Hell, A.J. Cole's been fantastic. He was hitting some balls today. We're just like, wow, this dude's incredible. I think Malik Benson's done really good as a rookie. I feel like Eric Stokes has done really well. I mean, there's a lot of dudes. It's really hard to just single out. Max has had a great camp. You know, wrecking shop, frustrating people. I think Kirk Cousins has done well. I mean, there's Mendoza's done well. You know what I mean? Like, there's been a lot of guys that have done well in training camp. I guess if I just had to point out one guy, I would just say Brock Bowers has been the best because, well, he's just always open. As far as the worst, I'll just say Dante Thornton Jr. because he hasn't been available. Right? I mean, that's got to be the best answer. If you're not available and you're not out there, you're not doing yourself any favor. Now, one will say, well, you're not hurting yourself. Well, you are. Availability is the key. And he just hasn't been available. And this goes back to, what, OTAs? Mandatory minicamp when we go out there? And we'd be out there for one practice out of the 3 days? And then mandatory minicamp, we were out there for the whole time. But OTAs, remember, it was like once a week we were out there? He'd be in the red jersey. He'd be, running along the sideline, trying to get loose. And you just never really saw him out there playing consistently. Like I said, I don't think he's in any danger of getting cut. Not in year 2. I just find that too quick. But, man, he ain't doing himself no favors. You just can't get to the National Football League, have a so-so rookie year where you didn't really do too much for one reason or the other, and then all of a sudden go into year 2 and think that you're going to not do too much and still be okay. He's got to be pretty concerned about where he's headed, right? And I keep thinking that there's a good chance that maybe he's on short-term IR if he can't get out there. Maybe, and he's designated to return. He'll have to miss at least 4 games for that. But I guess that also plays a role in what do they do with what's going on with Ashton Genty, and we don't know the answer to that yet. So there's going to be some gymnastics that are done for sure with this roster. We just don't know how it all plays out. But, yeah, I would say the guy that hasn't been out there and been able to contribute, especially when he's got a lot to prove, he's probably had the worst training camp. That's probably the best answer that I can give you. We got John McClain coming up talking all things NFL in about 5 minutes, but my man Ari's got some winning on the way. He's got some winning right now for you. What do you got?
Yes, I do have a pair of tickets to the Rebels football opener. That is UNLV taking on Memphis at the Allegiant Stadium this Saturday. So I have a pair of tickets for you right now. If you're caller 9-702-365-9200, must be a Nevada resident.
Boom. There it is right there. My man is standing by, waiting for you to call in. Be call number 9 so he can hook you up with a pair of tickets. UNLV and Memphis, 702-365-9200. John McClain joins us next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Yeah, I mean, it's really started since he's been here. He got it from his dad. His dad was the same way. There's a reason that I came here, I can tell you that much. And, I've known the family for a long time. Gary was exactly the same way. And, this Coop has been the same way, too. So he supports it. He knows it's a complimentary football all the way across the board. And he knows that for us to be where we need to get to, we've got to be good on teams. And that's, exactly what you want to be when you're at a place like this.
It's time for our weekly visit with the Hall of Famer, John McClain. Right now on Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q.
Special teams coordinator Joe DeCamillis right there talking about Clint Kubiak and the way he approaches the structure of the team, the way that he's leading the team, and how important special teams are. And that's the second or third time that he's reiterated there's a reason why he is with the Silver and Black. He was in the college ranks and decided to bring himself back to the NFL to be with head coach Clint Kubiak. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. John McClain joins us now on the phone lines. And, John, it was great to see you and catch up with you last week in Houston. I do thank you for your hospitality as always. I appreciate that. What did you see from this Raiders team when they were in the joint practice against Houston and also that preseason game on Thursday?
Truthfully, I was paying attention to Fernando Mendoza like everybody else. I wanted to watch him in practice. I wanted to watch him in the post-practice news conference in the tent, so to speak, and just hear how he handled himself. And he just blew me away. And Will Kiss, who I think's been there 19 years, he's got a gift from God when it comes from Mendoza dealing with him, and so does Clint Kubiak. They all know it. Tom Brady was there, Mark Davis was there, and so they're all fired up about their team, but they're realistic about the expectations, and I think fans are too, but they're fired up because they believe the team's headed in the right direction. And what you want to see playing in a tough division in which we all wonder if the Chiefs will bounce back or if we've seen the best of the Chiefs. Will Broncos be a legitimate Super Bowl contender, which I believe they will? Can the Chargers avoid serious injuries that hurt them last year, and they still won 11 games? So it's a difficult division, but they have some really good players. And I'm going to be curious to see when it gets close to the deadline. And the team needs a pass rusher because they think that they're a pass rusher from being a playoff team or a Super Bowl contender, what they do with Crosby. I would trade him and get the maximum I could get because I think fans would understand, even though he's one of the most popular players in franchise history, they could trade him to a contender, be doing him a favor. And based on what they've done in the draft, which bodes well for the future with John Spytek overseeing everything. So I got to see what you and I talk about, improvement, people being confident, not that they're going to the playoffs, not that they're not going to finish in last place, just confidence about the operation on and off the field. And as you know, because Mark Davis has been paying everybody but you and me, those days might be over at some point where he's not still paying former coaches and general managers because he has stability. And he's got to be the happiest person in the organization. And by the way, I saw, what did he give $25 million to?
Oh, the Intermountain Health to build a standalone children's hospital here in Nevada.
That is a great thing. I retweeted and tweeted that 2 or 3 times. Congratulations to Mark Davis. And I love seeing owners who do good things as opposed to owners who are looking for $40 or $60 hookers and trailer parks.
I know that's right. And that owner and his team are coming to Vegas this Thursday for the 3rd preseason game. John McClain is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. What about?
That's something that bothers me. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
You got like Robert Kraft going to a strip center in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You got Jed York, who it turns out had moved back to Ohio and is living in a $500,000 home that his parents owned with security outside and has filed for divorce. Obviously, he's going to have to go to counseling and see what Roger Goodell kind of penalty he'll hand out. But I'm thinking, you know what? If I was a billionaire and I wanted to party, one of the first places I'm going is Vegas. I'm calling Q, and never mind. I've got to have contacts there where I can party and have fun in privacy on my plane, on my yacht, wherever, instead of going to a trailer park in suburban Ohio. And from now on, when we think about Jed York, and I'm glad that I bet he's glad the season's starting. We're not going to be thinking about him owning the 49ers. We're going to think about him and cheap hookers. And that's too bad. Because Robert Kraft was a mover and shaker on NFL policy, and he got embarrassed, of course, but it didn't last a whole lot. Jed York is the memes. Some of the memes out there are just – people are so creative. I saw one, this is terrible, Q, it said, we should have known, and it showed 4 trailers, and parked between them was a 49ers private jet. And some of them are just hilarious. And but I'll guarantee you he's going to be getting treatment. They will announce he's getting the treatment, and he'll disappear for a while.
Will there be any kind of punishment, you think, from the league, Roger Goodell and company?
I do. I think because it's Jed York. He's not a powerful owner. He's not an influential owner. They'll suspend him. His uncle, Eddie Jr., who to me is the greatest owner in the history of the NFL, he got suspended for a year and then traded the franchise to his sister for the business empire. And That was a year, and that was for I think $400 million for a casino with Eddie Edwards, the governor of Louisiana, and DeBartolo could have come back as an owner, but he's retired to Tampa and he still does business. But Jerry Jones has still got a lawsuit against him involving, I think, women accusing him. But that's why you have to be so careful. It just makes no sense. The rest of us are like, what in the world were they thinking? Well, we know what they were thinking with.
Right, exactly. We know exactly what they were thinking with, but we don't know what they were thinking, like you said. John McClain is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920, Unnecessary Roughness. Now, the Texans have been hit with some injuries. Jaden Higgins, he went down during joint practices with the Raiders. They brought in Kayshon Boutte by way of trade with the Patriots. I saw another injury happen at practice today. Dylan Horton tore his Achilles. He's a defensive end. How massive are these injuries for the Texans so far?
Well, first of all, Jaden Higgins was a starter opposite Nico Collins, and he had 6 touchdowns as a rookie, and they had very high hopes for him. And as you saw, he went down the back of the end zone untouched. And when he walked off, I thought, well, they don't need the card, so that's good, and turned toward an ACL. But if you think losing a second-year receiver is going to ruin your goals as a Super Bowl, you're not a Super Bowl contender anyway. Okay. And they got Kayshon Boutte, who kicked their booty in the playoffs. He's beaten Derek Stingley Jr., his former teammate at LSU, for two of the 3 touchdowns that Stingley has given up. And they get Boutte in the last year of his contract. He's hungry. His agent's telling him, man, you're auditioning the first time you step on the field. He's gone to Charlotte, where he'll participate in a joint practice tomorrow, probably just watching. And he averaged 16.7 yards catch last year. Higgins averaged all. Nico Collins averaged 16. So they have 2 guys that were among the top 5 or 6 in average per catch. And if Boutte plays really well, and say the Texans want to re-sign him, Higgins is on a rookie contract. They could re-sign him. So he's going to get paid. And the main thing is he needs to stay healthy. And if he stays healthy and plays the way he did last year, takes another step, he's going to be a wealthy young man next season.
Yeah, no, he really will. He really will. He's a hell of a player, and a lot of people were wondering if the Patriots are going to be willing to trade him. I know they brought in A.J. Brown, but everything I heard, John, he was having a really good camp. I was actually surprised that the Patriots were willing to trade him.
He just got caught in a numbers game, and also the fact he's in the last year of his contract.
Yeah.
And A.J. Brown makes a lot of money. And so they knew they were going to lose him after this season, so they get a good backup safety, second year, Jalen Reed, and they get a 7th-round pick in 2028 from the Saints. So everybody here thinks it was a really good deal for the Texans, and I see around the country national media feels the same way. So now Boutte, he's coming in here, and he knows he's got a chance to find that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
I know that's right. John McClain is with us here on RaiderNation Radio 920. I laughed earlier today. I thought about you when we were asking Clint Kubiak about Ashton Jeanty and his injury, and he basically said he's not telling us anything. He's on the mend. I remember you saying he ain't going to tell you nothing about his injuries, just like his daddy. And, well, you were right, John. He didn't tell us anything.
And they don't have to. The only thing you're going to know for sure is when the injury report comes out, and even then they don't tell you what it is. Right. I remember one time when I was president of the Pro Football Writers Association of America, and people, members of our union, were of our organization, were complaining because Herm Edwards, the head coach of the Jets, stopped being honest about injuries. And I called him, and back then the league wanted you to be honest. And he said, if the guy at New England has a player with a sore ankle, but he listed as a shoulder, why should I? And I said, well, you got a good point. Fortunately, the league cracked down on Bill Belichick, and they went to the system the way it is now. Bill O'Brien, when he was the head coach here, he told me one time they peruse everything. And he said, even one little morsel of information can help us win. And I said, well, you need a lot more morsels.
John with the one-liners, man. John McClain's got the one-liners for sure here on Raider Nation Radio 920 Unnecessary Roughness. Were you surprised that Todd Monken named Deshaun Watson the starting quarterback there in Cleveland?
They'll never admit this, but the Browns need to lose, right?
Yeah.
They want a high pick. They want a quarterback. And what should be a great quarterback draft? They're going against the Jets. Jets have 3 number 1 picks in which they can barter. Maybe they're going against Arizona. So if you want to lose, what do? Start your worst quarterback. I think it's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Some people think he was made to do it, and I don't know if that's the case. But Watson's gone no matter what happens. They'll take an $87 million cap hit next year, but the Broncos took an $84 for Russell Wilson and made the playoffs.
Right.
And the difference is, Todd Monken's not Sean Payton. And so I think if Watson, he's 7-0 against the Jaguars, and if he can't come back to Cleveland, if he comes back winning 1 of 2 and is 1-1, the fans will politely cheer and see how he plays. If he comes back 0-2, he's not starting. Sanders is starting. Can you imagine throwing him out there? Nobody buys his apology. Right. And it was one of the most brain-dead news conferences I've ever seen. He's got to go. And maybe they'll do like the Texans did before they traded him. It was a season in which he was on the roster and he made his money, but he was not with the team. They paid him not to be there. He could come over and work out with one of their lower-level coaches, and then he was gone before the media got there. And then, of course, they made one of the greatest trades in history, a gift that just keeps on giving. And I say every year Andrew Berry, their general manager, should be candidate for Executive of the Year because the way he's rebuilt the Texans.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I'm glad you said it that way, John. I've been saying the same thing. Like, man, the Texans are so fortunate that the Browns were dumb enough to make the move that they did with making the trade, giving him that fully guaranteed contract, and it really has put the Texans in a great place as they are right now, especially with that incredible defense that we saw up close and personal last week. Well, great stuff as always, John. What are you working on, my man, that we should be on the lookout for?
No, I won't be there because the Texans play, but our documentary, the PVIL Story Separate But Equals, being screened in Austin. Sorry I missed it. We were at the Bush Library in College Station last week. Huge hit. We're working on the Dan Pastorini documentary. But I still find time to do all my talk shows, podcasts, and TV shows thanks to people like you. I appreciate you having me on, as always.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks so much. We appreciate you. It's our best time of the week. So thanks so much, John. Appreciate it.
Take care, Q.
All right, we will. It's good stuff. John McClain, always great stuff. Just got a text. I love John McClain. Yes, we understand, Jason. We understand. We love the general as well. 702-365-9200. We'd love to hear from you as we close out hour number 2, knowing that we won't see the team again until they take the field on Thursday in their final preseason game. What is it that you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team? Let us know your thoughts. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
That's always the scariest part for me with a young quarterback is just them being forced in before they're ready and not having, trust in the guys around them. So if Mendoza can run the offense, this is an offense built to make a quarterback's life easier. I think if you think he's credible and capable and he has a locker room believing in him, I think you start him week 1 just because sooner rather than later he's getting in the lineup. Why not do it, at the beginning of the year and give him the opportunity to really grow into that job quickly in September?
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Flying along here. We hear the sounds of Bill Barnwell from ESPN talking about starting Fernando Mendoza week 1. That's going to be the debate until week 1. And then it'll be the debate week 2. And then it'll be the debate week 3. And it's going to continue to be the debate until he actually gets into the game. And then someone will say, see, I told you. I told you that's when he should be in. I knew it was going to be week 5, or I knew it was going to be week 7, right? Nobody's ever going to be wrong. Everyone's going to be right, all right? You know how that goes.
Then isn't it going to be, should they have put him in that game? Or
right.
Should they have not put him in that game? Yeah.
Exactly. He goes out there, say, week 4 or 5, and he has a great game. See, that's why he should have been in week 1. He goes out week 4 or 5 and has a terrible game. That's why I told you he wasn't ready. Told you he wasn't ready. Like, you cannot win that battle at all. And so that's just, like I said, that's going to be the long-term debate, and that's fine. To me, I don't care. It keeps the Raiders in the conversation.
Amen.
People always talk about nobody's talking about the Raiders nationally. Guess what? Everybody's talking about the Raiders nationally. Everybody and their mama. Think about this. How much did we not talk about Cam Ward last year? I mean, seriously, like I'm not BSing you.
No,
How much
true.
did we not talk about Cam Ward? He was the number 1 overall pick, and nobody said a word even after he got drafted. You remember what happened the minute that he got drafted?
Oh,
the Jaguars
trade.
Yes, the Jaguars traded with the Browns, and it's like, Cam Ward is expected to go number 1 overall, and the Browns just traded with the Jaguars. This has got to be Travis Hunter, right? And then that was the conversation, and Cam Ward was just left there at the altar. Like, hey, cuckoo, here I am. I'm the number 1 overall pick. Yeah, don't worry about you. Right? Nobody. What did Eminem say? Nobody listens to techno. Right? He was techno. He was techno.
By the way, and now it's all Carnell Tate. Like, I haven't heard much about Cam. Obviously, he's the starting quarterback, but
Right.
it's Carnell Tate.
Now Carnell Tate's going to save the
too.
day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or Brian Daboll.
There you go. Yep.
But not too many people are talking about Cam Ward. So as much as we might be and moan and complain about, well, the national media don't talk about the Raiders, guess what? Everybody and their mama is talking about the Raiders. It might be all Fernando Mendoza, but they're talking about the Raiders. And Cam Ward would love to have got a little bit of conversation, even a handshake. I don't even think the commissioner gave him a jersey when he got drafted. He was like, man, get your ass off the stage. We got Travis Hunter about to cut the – no, they didn't really do that. But I'm putting sauce on it, obviously. But that's how it felt. It was over before it ever got started. It's Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Got Brandy Flores from the Las Vegas Sports Network joining us at the top of the hour. Let's go real quick out to the phone lines. And it's funny, man. I got a tweet earlier today when I tweeted out the show lineup, and it was so funny. And dang it, now I lost it. Damn it. Oh, it came from Just Lost 88. He said, 4:45, Money Mitch is going to fly his plane aimlessly and does everything but land the plane. And I said, yep, there's no doubt about that. Well, the one thing we got wrong was the time. Money Mitch, you're up. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Very funny. How we doing, Ari? Q. How you guys doing?
I'm great. We're great. How are you, brother?
Very good. Sorry to hear about that beautiful lady, Dolly Parton. She was very giving, generous, great actress. I thought she had more time, but you just never know.
Yeah. Passed away at
Just
age
never
80.
know.
Rest in peace. Absolutely. She was so talented that she crossed all genres. Like, it didn't matter what music you loved and you preferred. Everyone had respect for Dolly Parton.
Yeah, and she could act, and she wasn't a show-off. Respectful lady. So, I mean, I didn't know, but her music, was pretty good. And she made some good movies. By the way, it's 2 years in a row that we had ex-Pac-12 quarterbacks being taken top of the draft. You noticed that?
I noticed
I'm sure
that.
you did.
That's the first thing I thought of when it happened 2 years in a row. I thought, oh, my gosh, you know what? Ex-Pac-12 quarterbacks. That's exactly what I'm going to lead with.
And Jaden Maia will win the Heisman and be number 1, but we won't need him.
Okay.
I did a question with the wide receivers. Who's going to be number 1? Mike Mayer, please wake up. And also the Bergs as linebackers, right? The two Bergs, Cody and Tommy. I want to see him do well, contribute, make the team, of course. Thanks for taking my call, Q. You're the best.
Hey, you're the best. Great call right there from Money Mitch. He's like DJ Khaled, we the best. Right? There you go. Really good stuff, man. Appreciate you talking about the wide receiver room and talking about the linebacker room. What does Brandy Flores think? Well, she'll tell us. She kicks off hour number 3. She'll do that next. Keep that feedback coming at 702-365-9200. What is it that you still question or are not sure of when it comes to this team? That's next here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
That's part of the NFL. That's part of football. You coach or play long enough, and those things happen. They're unfortunate, but that's the attrition of the season. I would say that he has done a phenomenal job of, growing up really fast. We drafted him. You come to the NFL, there's a lot on your plate, and then we throw all these new protections at you, these new fronts and blitzes and routes, and I think that he's a guy that understands that we are counting on him, and he needs to get up to speed quickly, and he's been mature about that, and he's going to keep working.
It's Unnecessary Roughness. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right. Here's your boy Q.
As we kick off hour number 3 of the show, we come into the sounds of head coach Clint Kubiak talking about dealing with injuries, as he had to deal with multiple injuries so far as a head football coach of the Raiders, and also you hear him responding to questions about Mike Washington and his development. Obviously, Mike Washington is next man up while Ashton Jeanty is not in the lineup, and we don't know how long he won't be in the lineup, if he's going to miss some time, and if he does miss some time, how much. We really don't know. It's Unnecessary Roughness, RaiderNation Radio 920. One of those questions about the injuries was asked by our next guest. That's Brandy Flores from the Las Vegas Sports Network, and Brandy joins us now on the phone lines. Brandy, thanks so much for your time. Do appreciate you, and didn't expect to get some big synopsis, whatever that S word is, synopsis. I don't know why it's so difficult to say, but summary. How about we just use the word summary of what the injury was going to be to Ashton Jeanty from head coach Clint Kubiak? But what did you think about his answer, his response, and just where Ashton Jeanty is at this stage of the game?
Well, it is a last hour cue, so synopsis. It's okay.
The sun. It was the sun that got me.
Honestly, yeah, it is hot outside. But I will say I wasn't expecting, to your point, a whole lot of Clint Kubiak to say anything, honestly. However, I did think that he would say what kind of injury it was and how long he's going to be out. I think by this time they would know how long, those two answers to those questions. I understand, I guess, wanting to keep anything as close to the vest as possible, and that is definitely Clint Kubiak's style, especially when a star player goes down. I don't really expect much different. But I was shocked when, we asked about the prayer, and there was definitely a prayer that was said. We don't know who led it. We all kind of assumed it was head coach Clint Kubiak, but along with coach and a lot of guys in the team, faith is a really big part of what makes them a person, what they lean on when times get tough. And so I thought they would at least answer that question, what happened there, and at least give that insight, because I feel like I don't think that would give us or anybody anything. So I was shocked about that, and it would have been nice to know, I guess, how that all came together, because it was pretty quickly. So how did that, all come together? But yeah, I'm not really shocked. I guess we'll know maybe when the national reporters will find out before we will, unfortunately, is kind of guess how that goes, or until week 1 when they have to put out the injury report.
Yeah.
Hopefully we find out more soon, but yeah, I think obviously not seeing Ashton Jeanty the last 2 days on the practice field, I think it does tell you something, that he's getting some sort of testing, which usually happens, but especially in cases like these, that's priority. And there's great hospitals as far as San Diego. So I do think that they would have answered they would have had the answers to those questions by now. So yeah, it's going to be tough, Q, to try to get Coach Kubiak to answer any of our questions about injuries or anything like that. This will be interesting. I know it's really early, it's preseason, but yeah, this is going to be interesting. It's going to make us all better reporters at the end of the day.
There you go. That's the way to think of it, with the silver lining right there. I can appreciate that. Again, Brandy Flores is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. So obviously the next man up, as you heard Clint Kubiak talk about, Mike Washington. We've seen him in the preseason. What are your thoughts on Mike, and can what we see in the preseason actually translate into the regular season as well?
Well, I think what we've seen from Mike is his explosiveness. I think that he has definitely earned that number 2 spot. And before Ashton Jeanty was going down, everybody was talking about the 1-2 punch in the backfield. And, Mike has all the talent and capability. I just think he's going to need a little bit more experience to really reach that level of say, Ashton Jeanty. I think it's going to be really hard to replace a guy like that. But this is a great opportunity for the team to see what they have in Mike Washington in a lot of different ways. One, how he performs. I think that in the preseason, there was one specific play, I believe it was the first preseason game against the Cardinals. He broke free on a super long run. One of the defenders ended up coming from behind and was able to tackle him before he got the touchdown. And the first thing I thought of was Ashton Jeanty would have scored a touchdown. And so that's, I think, the difference. It's not that to say that, Mike Washington is slow. I don't think that's what it was. It was just his trajectory and how he was trying to get to the end zone. It was a little bit slower than a guy like Ashton Jeanty, who was, as soon as he sees open grass, he's gone, hits another gear, hits a third gear, because he's trying to score a touchdown. I think that Mike, something like that is obviously something that he's going to have to learn. But I do think he has, like I said, all the talent and athleticism to do those things. It's just he is a rookie, so we do have to see that from him. Now, I also think it'll be a good opportunity to see how he steps up in a starting role, because whatever happens with Ashton Jeanty, Mike Washington's the number 1 running back right now on this team, with Ashton Jeanty not on the field. How does he step up to that plate? as a leader, as a guy where he's trying to see things? How does he get open when things start to fall apart? Like, all those little things, it's like, how is he going to do that? And I think that's going to be the most intriguing part for this coaching staff, because they know they have Ashton Jeanty. Whether he comes back by week 1 or week 4, they know what he can do and they know what they have in him. What about Mike Washington? So I think he's trending in the right direction, just like Coach Kubiak said today. I think that his ability to learn and really grasp things has been evident. We've seen that with a lot of these rookies that they actually picked this year. Even going to the young DBs, the way that a lot of these guys don't make the same mistake twice. And so we'll see if Mike Washington can do that. But I would like to see him hit the second, third gear so he could really explode from the backfield. Because also, we don't know how this offensive line is going to do. And that's another big thing. If Mike Washington can hardly be touched and has a great outing if he's the one playing week 1, that's great news for the offensive line. So I think that's another aspect the coaching staff can look at, which, okay, we may not have Ashton Jeanty, but we have a good running back in Mike Washington, and he's still able to, get 100 yards in this game. Like, I think that's going to be even more exciting for this team once they see that. And so there's a lot of things that they'll be able to learn and figure out. And, it is just really tough, though, that it's like that mentality, right? Next man up.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. And I always talk about the next man up mentality, and it sounds good, and I know it's a cliche, but if the next man was as good as the first man, he would be that guy, right? He wouldn't be the next man. He'd be that man. But you know how that goes, and that's exactly what has to happen now. Mike Washington has to fill that void. Again, Brandy Flores is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. Now, we don't know what to expect on Thursday. We don't know who's going to play, who's not going to play. But as far as just questions about this team at the stages of the game, you've been out there for every single day of practice. What are your questions that you still have about this team moving forward?
Well, besides the obvious, which I would think is the offensive line, my biggest question, too, is honestly the defense as a whole. And I think that this defense, they need to have a lot of depth on their side. And we've kind of seen flashes of that from different guys, but I'd like to see more and more consistency as well. And talking to Robbie Leonard, the defensive coordinator, yesterday, he did say that, we're not going to get good at everything all at once, but he wants to see little progression. But I feel like at this point, we're getting ready for week 1. Yes, we probably will not see any starters on Thursday. I would be shocked. But who are the guys in the depth? Who are the guys that are going to come in from behind when something like this happens, when somebody goes down or somebody gets injured or somebody's not performing the way they should be? And you need another guy to really pressure you to take for that starting role. I don't think that we'll see any of the offensive line of starters, but it would be nice to see and continue to see that right guard competition between Caleb Rogers and JPJ. I feel like their reps with the first team are very even. And it's hard to say what this coaching staff or who this coaching staff is more comfortable with at that position. So that would be nice to see in a game situation. But, of course, we'll find out right before week 1 when we see who's taking all the first team reps.
Yeah, you're right about that. But who would you give someone a nod or a favor or say, okay, I think that this guy may be the leader in the clubhouse right now between JPJ and Caleb Rogers?
I would say yes, and especially coming in from last year, I think that it is JPJ's job to kind of lose, right? Mm-hmm. He did have some sort of injury, which we don't know. Again, we don't know anything, but he's out there. He's been right back on the practice. He's been right back. He just missed those couple days in Houston, but he's right back on the practice field like, nothing seemed to have really happened. And so I could see them doing that, and that it is his job to lose just because of the history. However, then I do think that JPJ is a guy that they really want to step up, and they really saw when they got him to make a big impact on that line. But, of course, he's going to have to show that consistency. And what is that you always say, Q? Your best ability is availability.
Yep.
Yes, your best ability is availability. So I think that's going to be. I would say that. That's my opinion on that.
No, you're right about that. Again, Brandy Flores is with us here, RaiderNation Radio 920. What about the wide receiver room? This is my big question, and it's not if they have a number one wide receiver. It's just who is going to be their number one wide receiver, right? Who's going to end up at the end of the season with the most yards, with the most touchdowns, the guy that's consistent for whatever quarterback is out there, the guy that's always available. Who do you think that guy is going to be?
Well, I think that the wide receiver room, they are the ones with the least amount of, I will say, talent at personnel. I did think that Jalen Naylor, and I still believe that he has a chance to have a big year this year, being a veteran in this league. We just haven't seen a whole lot from him, to be fair, in game situations. But his familiarity with Kirk Cousins, I could see that growing. However, when we talk about guys who we are constantly writing down their numbers in our notes when we're watching practice of who's standing out, it is Malik Benson. I think Malik Benson, the way that he's been able to shine this training camp and really take strides week after week. I know he had a couple drops in the preseason game, but those are learning moments as a rookie in this league. And so it's going to be very interesting to see that, especially if and when they start Fernando Mendoza. Him and Fernando have developed a great relationship already, and it's extremely evident on the football field. And so he could be a guy that can step up as well, especially when he comes in with Fernando. I think Malik is kind of knocking on that door. But, yeah, I think as a whole, the entire unit, I think that they all kind of need to take a step up. And I think the reason why Malik Benson has shined and has been able to take these strides is because the veterans in the room, although they might be teaching him the ways and doing their own, having their own ways to get open and things like that, they're not standing out as much on this offense. Brock Bowers, who I think they consider their quote-unquote wide receiver one, he's a tight end.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it's just not the same. And I think that the wide receiver room, they do have that opportunity to shine. So I think it's more so on them, as well as the quarterbacks. Of course, somebody's got to be able to throw it to them accurately and well. But we have seen that, I think, from Kirk and Fernando. So it'll be very interesting to see as the season rolls out, because everybody's going to put all attention on Brock. And now the run game, as they always were before, even with Ashton Genty in there or not.
Yeah, when it comes to Fernando, it seems like Malik Benson has been his go-to guy. It seems like that they are really developing a good chemistry throughout the course of training camp, and we've seen him go to him a few times in the preseason as well. What did you think? You were in Houston. What did you think about Fernando when he threw the pick six, how he bounced back from that interception that he threw?
It didn't surprise me. I think we've seen it throughout camp, right? We've seen him understand the mistake. You could tell he doesn't dwell on it. He does this thing where as soon as it happens, he immediately is like, okay, like he ramps it up, like calling the huddle. Like, all right, let's go. Okay, this, and that. Like he kind of just like passes over it quickly. And as he has explained to us, he doesn't dwell on it right there in the moment. That's something for him to go back and watch film and take notes on later. But I think in the moment, even when your quarterback makes a mistake like that, to rally the troops, calm everybody down, because even though it might not have been their mistake, or maybe it was if it was a miscommunication, to be able to calm everything down, because at the end of the day, an offense is only as good as their quarterback. And if your quarterback is calm and poised, even after something like that happens, it does help reset and not be so stressed or, if they're not so stressed out about, okay, dang, we made a mistake. Oh, man, now we're down a whole 7 points. Okay, like it's, all right, calm down. Let's just keep doing what we have to do. A lot of guys say that that's what they do, but I think it's very visible and evident when you watch it happen on a football field. And Fernando Mendoza definitely has that, and it's something that he's talked about he's done since college, and that's shown as well and during his time in Indiana. So I think it didn't surprise me, and I think it's a very, very good trade that the coaching staff doesn't have to coach him about.
Right. No, he clears it really quickly, and I got to give him a lot of credit for that. Again, Brandy Flores, Las Vegas Sports Network, is with us here. Raider Nation Radio 920. Now, not only does she cover the Raiders, not only is she covering the Aces, not only is she going to be at Circa with JVT for ESPN Las Vegas coming up on, what is that? That's tomorrow? Is that tomorrow as well? Or no, it's Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday you got that event. We'll talk about that in a minute. But also the fight game, the boxing scene, you're all over that this weekend. Teofimo Lopez took on Rolly Romero, and Teofimo got the victory and got the belt. What did you think about just that fight, the atmosphere that was there at T-Mobile Arena? Just what were your overall thoughts on it?
Well, I'll start with the fight, because the atmosphere for me was kind of disappointing, but the fight was a great fight. The main card was really good. I thought that it was exciting. I mean, I expected Teofimo to win. I think he was a better boxer at the end of the day. Rolly did have a lot of power, and so I wasn't going to be shocked if Teofimo got a little ahead of himself, that Rolly could land him with something, and he did. It was that fifth, sixth round. Rolly, specifically in that fifth round, knocked him back a bit, but it took a couple rounds for Teofimo to kind of get his feet back under him and continue the fight. But, I mean, it's a 12-round fight. Rolly only really the scorecards were a little close to me. I don't know how the other judge saw that as a draw, but maybe my view is farther away, so I'll give it that. But I do think that Rolly not continuing his aggression after that 5th, 6th round, not continuing to go forward, not continuing, just kind of waiting to counterpunch Teofimo, which Teofimo, I mean, credit to him, obviously, because he was able to stay in that fight and to will himself to not only stay in there mentally, but to really regain himself, his composure, and then finish the fight and he undoubtedly won every round after that 6th round, I would say. Rolly not being able to do that was very disappointing for him and his fans. There were a lot of Rolly fans in attendance. However, that is not. I wasn't shocking to me that he did lose the fight. Afterwards in the press conference, Rolly was like, "I won the fight," just because I think he had those 2 good rounds, which I know it's a little bit different when you're the one fighting in there and you feel like you gave it your all. But he definitely did not win the fight, but at all. Now the atmosphere. I mean, this is a big fight. This is a world title fight between 2 guys. Teofimo Lopez is a great fighter and has been for a while. And it was in Vegas. It was at T-Mobile. I was honestly shocked, I'm not going to lie, when the fight was at T-Mobile. I thought they would have it at a smaller arena, only because when we talk about the reason why boxing isn't as popular as it used to be, it's because of fandom with specific fighters. Teofimo and Rolly Romero are not household names. They both are probably in Vegas. There's a lot of fight fans here, and Rolly's from Vegas. Mm-hmm. However, they're not big enough. The arena was not even close to being sold out. The entire upper bowl was covered, except for maybe there's about 30% of the upper bowl that was sold, that they had people standing up there, and then the rest of the bottom parts of it the seats weren't even all filled up. And that is disappointing. And I'm not calling out fight fans. I'm calling out boxing for not doing better. I know it's a long road to really regain the popularity that boxing once had, but I feel like a fight night for a world title fight in Vegas, I don't even think it was a big deal in this area. It didn't feel that way. There was not a lot of hype at all. When Canelo fights, you have posters, banners everywhere. You can't not know that Canelo's fighting when you live out here in Vegas. And it didn't have that same effect. I understand that these guys aren't Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez, one of the best fighters of all time. But I feel like that's on boxing and the promotion to really hype up their fighters, because why should we be excited about them if nobody's talking about them? No matter how good or bad these fighters are, or if they're undefeated or not, or if it's a world title on the line or not. So it'll be really interesting to see. I do think that Ryan Garcia, Conor Benn, they're fighting next. Ryan does a good job of self-promotion, which is why he's a household name. Because, I mean, look, he just became a world title holder. And he's been a household name for 3-4 years now. Right. So,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I guess the atmosphere was good to me. Maybe the margaritas was making the atmosphere that much better. I don't know. But I had a good time.
The fans were into it, I will say. The fans that were there, this is no knock to the fans that were there. They were into it. It was just disappointing of the lack of people inside the building. Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Like I said, the margaritas, they rolled them out there pretty nice. So the atmosphere for me was fantastic. I thought it was a packed house. There was 100,000 standing room only, as far as I was concerned. No, we had a good time. We had some really good seats and got to see all the action, and I enjoy doing that every once in a while on a Saturday night here in Las Vegas. Well, good stuff as always. There's another fight that's coming up that we're going to be covering pretty soon. What fight is that coming up?
That's the Ryan Garcia, Conor Benn fight.
Okay, and that's when?
That's
September 12th? All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
so we're going to do Radio Row.
Nice.
So we'll be on Radio Row again. I'm trying to get some guests lined up already for us, so be good.
Nice. There you go. See, you're on it. That's why we appreciate you. Then Thursday, you and JVT are going to be at Circa. You guys got an event there. What's going on there?
So that's going to be the big gambling weekend that Circa holds every year. People come in from all over the world to come gamble at Circa for their championship weekend. There's going to be basically you have to come and place your bets in Vegas or sign up for this event in Vegas, and then you can go back home wherever you're from to actually participate throughout the football season. It's going to be really great. I'm excited. This is my first time seeing something like this, and I mean, what better place than Circa Sports? It's the largest sports book in Las Vegas, and they always treat us super well. So I'm super excited for that. The show's 7 to 10 a.m. on ESPN Las Vegas on Thursday. And we're gonna be talking Raiders. We're obviously going to be talking UNLV as well because they open up their season this weekend.
Yes, they do at Allegiant Stadium against Memphis. That's going to be a really big game. Well, you're going to be busy. You got the show on Thursday. You've got the Raider game Thursday night. You've got you're get some rest. Get some rest. You're going to need it because you are going to be busy. But keep up the great work. Definitely appreciate you, and of course we'll see you on Thursday.
All right, thanks, Q.
All right, appreciate you. There she goes. Brandy Flores got everything covered. Las Vegas Sports Network. You can find her on Twitter @_Brandy Flores. And I forgot to mention while she was on, I should have kept her on. All right, she's gone already, huh? Is she already gone, or do we still have her?
No,
do we
she's
still have her?
there. You want me to?
Oh, yeah. Bring her back up real quick.
Boom.
Bring her back up.
Brandy.
Hold on. Brandy's officially part of the crew now. She got the AFL Godfather retweet.
I did.
How cool is that? When you get the AFL Godfather, who none of us know who it is, we just know that he's inside the building there at the Raider facility. You got the retweet. You got that's the thumb up, the thumb up, the seal of approval right there from AFL Godfather. That's a badge of honor right there. I'm just saying.
Well, shout out AFL Godfather, whoever you are. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. But yeah, first of all, and it wasn't just a retweet. It was a fire, and then the point down at my tweet. So he was emphasizing what I was saying, it was a tweet about what the question I asked Clint Kubiak when he responded about Mike Washington and what he thinks of the depth of that room. And he said we were going to see Mike Washington on Thursday, but I don't know, because he also said at the joint practice in Houston, we're going to see some starters, and we didn't. And the plan the whole time was to not have any starters in the preseason game against Houston. So who knows? Coach is a wild one, but I am very blessed and honored. Thank you, AFL Godfather.
There it is.
Like it was like if for all the listeners, if you have not listened, go listen to Clint Kubiak's full press conference. It's on Raiders.com YouTube page. They have it everywhere. Go listen to it, and the way he just evades every question. You could tell he was proud of himself in the way he evaded that, because he would smile after every time, and
Yes.
It's really hard to get him to crack a smile.
Right.
So it's gonna be a fun season. It's gonna be a long season. It's gonna be fun though.
It will be a lot of fun. It will be a lot of fun. But like I said, congratulations to you. You got the AFL Godfather seal of approval, and of course you got the seal of approval with us as well. Thanks so much as always. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
All right, there she goes. Brandy Flores for real this time. I almost forgot to mention that. That's when you know you made it. That's when you know you made it, when you get a retweet from AFL Godfather, you get a DM from AFL Godfather. As long as you're not getting dogged by AFL Godfather, you're doing all right. So apparently I made it. I'm okay. I've got the retweet every once in a while, so I'm good. I'm in the crew, and Brandy got hers today. So that's one of those moments that you know that you're doing all right. You've been approved when you get that AFL Godfather retweet. There's no doubt about that. Definitely appreciate Brandy. She does a fantastic job with everything that we do, and she's been out there at practice every single day of practice since training camp started. Has not missed any. I've missed two, just to be, one I went to travel to Houston, and the other one I was at Allegiant Stadium yesterday when she was over at the practice facility. But she's been all there covering it every single day. She puts her recaps out, does a hell of a job again on Twitter at _Brandy Flores, and does a great job for us here on the Las Vegas Sports Network. So we do appreciate her, and we do appreciate you. We want to hear from you at 702-365-9200. We threw the question out there to you. We're not going to see the team again until Thursday in the final preseason game. We know that. What is it you still question or are not sure about when it comes to this team? Sir Whiskey Ray just hit us up, said, "What's up, gentlemen? All I want to say is fantastic show. Guests today were great as always. I love the insight. Callers and texters bringing it today. Awesome show. Thanks as always. Just wanted to give you and Ari props. Cheers to Whiskey Ray. P.S. Valkyrie's looking good after last night's big win versus Minnesota. Psst, I drafted Genty and wide receiver Chase Sunday afternoon, so far not looking so good. Talking about Jamar Chase, who got injured today with the Bengals. It looks like it's okay as of right now. At least that's what the initial reports are. And then, of course, Ashton Genty, we don't know until we know. But Sir Whiskey Ray, thanks so much for that. Do appreciate you. Let's see. We got one more text that I want to get to. This one comes from our guy, Mitch in the 5 and Dime. My biggest question is still on the offensive line, so I don't look at Genty being down for the first few weeks as a bad thing while the line figures things out. If it's actually good enough against the real defensive line in the NFL, I hope they figure it out and Ashton doesn't have to take the bumps and bruises while they do when he comes back. they just go for it. So that's from our guy Mitch in the 510. Definitely appreciate that. And we do want to hear from you. Like I said, 702-365-9200. Keep that feedback coming, text line and phone line. And we got the Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award recipient, Clark High School head football coach, Coach Deumaine Reeder. He will join us next as well. It's RaiderNation Radio 920.
It's time for Q's weekly interview with the Tom Flores High School Coach of the Week here on RaiderNation Radio 920.
Joining us now on the phone lines is the Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award recipient. That's Clark High School head football coach Deumaine Reeder. And, Coach, thanks so much for your time. Definitely appreciate you. Congratulations on the victory. Your program picking up the 39-35 win over Douglas in the opening game of the season. How important was it to get this win for you and your program? Week 1, start off the season with the W.
It was absolutely a great accomplishment program with us having some younger guys and to go out into an environment like that and play a high energy football game. It really helps us in our confidence and also just the team camaraderie as a whole.
Well, Coach, you also had to go on the road. So what was it like having to travel to northern Nevada? And at what point of the ride was it almost time for, all right, everyone to get locked in and get their mind right and ready for the game?
Locked in was that 4:00 a.m. Thursday travel. We don't want to get just locked in come game time, but this has been a preparation that they started that Thursday morning when we got on the bus to travel up to Douglas High School.
Your team took the lead late, but the defense is what sealed the deal, created a turnover to win it. How satisfying is it that the defense was able to shut the door when you needed it?
Absolutely. We want to stand on our defense this year anyway. We got a lot of returners that played last year in our playoff run, so defense wins championships. Yeah. So we want to stand our head and put our head in that area to make sure that we're building that unit day by day, but also week by week.
Clark High School head football coach Deumaine Reeder is with us here at RaiderNation Radio 920. When did you get that buy-in from the defense that, yes, we're going to dedicate ourselves? It's not just about scoring points, but stopping the other team as well.
Our thing is that we've been fortunate enough to have former head coaches that I've added to our coaching staff, but also just our motto for Clark High School is the Fineo mentality, which is failure is not an option, and depending on each other, and you just doing your part to make sure the overall success of the entire program, but the defense as a whole is conquered.
On the offensive side of things, your running back, Felix Romero, was a special night. He had a real special night, 4 rushing touchdowns, caught a touchdown pass as well. When did you realize that it was going to be a good one for Felix?
Well, Felix is an exceptional back, and I will hang my hat to say that he's one of the top running backs in the state. And he had a good year for us last year, and we just want to build on that in his junior year. And he can run and catch it, so that's a plus when you got a dual threat as far as a running and catching back out of the backfield.
What is it about him? I mean, I know you mentioned the being able to catch the ball and run the rock, but what is it that just kind of separates him from other running backs that you've seen before?
His determination not to go down on first contact. That's big, especially in the high school realm. If you can be able to make the first person miss or not go down on the first tackle, then that's a good plus. So he's been good at doing that since he's been at Clark High School, and we just want to continue to build up on his success with that as part of his motivation not to be tackled on the first contact.
How challenging is the weather at this point of the season? It's extremely hot. It's everything but football weather right now.
Hey, it is what it is. As they will say, life be life. So we just got to just bear with it and keep moving. Football games don't stop because of the weather, so we just have to maintain, keep the kids hydrated, and keep going. We are in Vegas, and we are in the desert. So that's kind of just what goes on, and we just have to find a way to get through it.
Was there a bigger emphasis, though, on just making sure that you do keep the kids hydrated and they understand about, keeping themselves hydrated and in the right, their bodies right?
Absolutely. One of the biggest things for us being in that high elevation, also the first ball game, it tested the willpower of our team as a whole, and they endured, and the victory was won with them just dedicating themselves to maintaining what we've been teaching and preaching the entire summer.
Clark High School head football coach Deumaine Reeder with us here at RaiderNation Radio 920. What do you want to see from your team as the non-league schedule continues? Like, how do you want to see them grow throughout the non-league?
Make the main thing and not just be content with just the win that we had on this past week against Douglas High School, but continue to build on that success. And any house is not just built on one brick, but it's brick after brick after brick. And we want to continue to make sure that we build each day as far as making sure that we're just continue to build that winning success as a program.
And I know the Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award, I know it's for the team. I know it's for your whole staff. You're no stranger to it. But what does it mean to be once again recognized by the Silver and Black like this?
It absolutely means a lot for the point that it culminates what we build here as a team. It's not a me. It's about we. It's about everyone on this program, even down to the trainer. Each one of us play a big success in the role that we play, whether it's small or big or minute. We all have an important part to play in. You see that in the combination. So this award is not only just recognizing me, but it's also recognizing the program as a whole.
What does it mean for the Raiders to be embracing the community and high school athletics the way that they do, not only Clark, but just the whole community in general?
That is absolutely phenomenal. The way that the Raiders when they came into the city and they embraced the high school, the lower level programs, the youth program, and just being in the community as a whole. Because at the end of the day, whether, the program is an example and also a mentorship to where kids can see that anything is possible, but also being around, you see them on TV, but now you're seeing them in the community. And it's not just like, hey, I'm an NFL player and that's the end all to be all, but to see them actually involved in the program in the high schools, that's a big plus. And I think they're doing a great job at making sure that is taking place.
How much does that even inspire some of your players to know that, like you said, you see these guys not only on TV but in the community and understand that, hey, if I put the work in, I too possibly could make it to that level?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that you got former high school players from the state of Nevada and even just in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada, that have made their ranks through college, and now they're even on some of the Raiders teams, either whether it's in preseason, and they'd be like, yo, I either played against that guy or I remember that guy at this high school, and now they're playing for the Las Vegas Raiders. So that's big. You see that there is a future if I just do the work, if I just commit myself to doing what it needs to get to the next level.
Again, we're talking with Clark High School head football coach Deumaine Reeder here on RaiderNation Radio 920. Unnecessary Roughness. Well, up next, Coach, on the schedule, you're on the road taking on Virgin Valley. What would you say the biggest challenge the Bulldogs will present to you is?
They can run the ball, and they're a good program, and we look at it as just any other task. We got to do what we can do, control the controllables, and do what we can and make sure that we're putting forth our best effort. And also doing the things that we're being and having the students and the players to coach up during the week. Well-coached team. And, when you get teams there was one reason why we did go to Douglas. It's one high school, one middle school, one elementary school. So that's the same thing that you're getting when you go to Virgin Valley. So you got individuals that have been a part of that high school for years. And now, as we would say, their dream thing is to be a part of the Virgin Valley, high school football team. And those kids have gotten that opportunity. And there's great heritage and great responsibility for them to uphold what's already been the foundation of that program in years and years before.
Well, so far, so good for Clark, right? You can only take it 1 week at a time, and that's what you've done so far. 1-0 on the young season, picking up the victory over Douglas. Now you go on the road and have an opportunity this week against Virgin Valley. Coach, thanks so much for your time. Again, congratulations on the award, and good luck as you continue on with the journey throughout the course of the season. Definitely appreciate your time this afternoon.
God bless you.
There he is, head coach Deumaine Reeder from Clark High School, Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award recipient for week 2 of the high school football season. This will continue to roll on each and every week throughout the course of the high school football season. Always a lot of fun to be able to catch up with coaches for a few minutes and talk about the success of their program, highlight a few players, and, again, just to show that attention to the community, right? We talked about the $25 million donation yesterday for the standalone children's hospital, but it's more than that. It's all aspects of the community the Raiders have really, really leaned into, and I love each and every week being able to have these conversations with these high school football coaches. We'll go ahead and close out the show next by hearing from you. 702-365-9200. It's Raider Nation Radio 920.
Now back to Unnecessary Roughness with your boy Q. Presented by Meineke, doing car care right.
Don't forget this fine show that we call Unnecessary Roughness here on Raider Nation Radio 920 will come to you live from PT's Tavern tomorrow. PT's Gold, 903 East Lake Mead Parkway in Henderson. That's 903 East Lake Mead Parkway in Henderson. $3 Blue Moon and Coors Light pints, $4 Modelo pints, $20 Topo Chico buckets, and you can win free tickets to catch a game at Allegiant Stadium. You can get $100 Allegiant bar credit, and most importantly, if you're going to get a $100 bar credit, you need to have a $100 Uber credit, right? They're going to do that for you as well. So not only are you going to have a good time, you're going to stay safe in the community, which is, of course, something that we definitely appreciate. Team gear to wear throughout the game. Your home for football is all at PT's Gold, PT's Place, Great American Pub, Lucky's, and Sierra Gold. But again, you will join in this show. Hang out with your boy tomorrow. Looking forward to being outside of the studio. It's like a dog on a field trip, right? Get outside and been on that long road trip. All of a sudden you open up that back door and whoop, just go run out there and go. Right? Don't even know what I'm running for. Just running. Right? Where's it going? Who cares? That's all that matters, Ari. Is that all?
Zoomies.
Exactly. Hey, man, look, I'll jump out of the back of the car on that field trip, and I'll just start running. When's that guy going to slow down? I don't know.
I kind of envision you jumping out of every car like that anyway, so.
I mean, it's always – I'm always a little excited. Exactly. That's how I wake up in the morning, man. I'm excited to just wake up in the morning. It's a celebration just to, just to have another day. But, yeah, man, anytime I get to be out and about and at a location, on location, and bring you this fine program. And, it's always great. It's always someone that, comes by that is a normal caller or texter that I've never been able to shake their hand and say thank you for listening or contributing to the show whenever you do for however long you do. To be able to do that is always really cool. Matter of fact, one of the last times I was out at TI at the Golden Circle Sportsbook when I was sliding in for Cofield and Company on our sister station, ESPN Las Vegas, Barry and Henderson. Met Barry in Henderson. It was really cool. He's sent so many texts in before, and to finally just get to, put a name to the texter, right, and be able to, just chop it up with them. That's always cool. What was it, 13-4 Mike? Saw him over at Silver Sevens, where we'll be again this year for Monday Night Football. That was really cool. Hell, we threw 13-4 Mike on the radio, right? We put him on the spot. Hey, I'm telling you, he said it. That was his opportunity. His time to shine. So that's all I got to say. If you come by and I'm on the air and I'm literally in the middle of a conversation, you better be ready because you never know when a headset might come your way, right? My guy Eric used to show up like every single week at Silver Sevens. That was really cool. Look forward to it. Man, I'm telling you, whenever you get an opportunity to get out and actually, like I said, meet and greet with the people that listen to you, put up with you. Some may put up with me, right? I definitely appreciate it. So I know I've met Vegas Pete out in the street when we were doing Buffalo Wild Wings. Man, there's so many. I can't just name everybody, but man, it's always really cool. TI is always one that a lot of folks are able to come out to and hang out because it's such a great location, and of course you're having the food and everything there. But PT's Gold is going to be just as good, if not better, right? I'm looking forward to that. 903 East Lake Mead Parkway in Henderson, 2 to 5 p.m. This fine program that we call Unnecessary Roughness here on RaiderNation Radio 920 will be live. And I'm walking into the building tomorrow. There is no Raiders practice, so I'm coming into the studio, and I'm seeing what good prizes I can take, what good prizes I can get my hands on. I'll tell Sylvia to look one way, and I'll just go the other way. Hey, Sylvia, what's over there? Okay, cool, and grab some. I'm just saying, hey, man, grab some good prizes. If I'm going to be out and about, the people demand some good prizes, right?
Yes, sir.
Just saying. I can't be disappointing. I can't not deliver goods. Like I gotta bring it. If I'm gonna be out in these streets, I gotta have some heat with me. Just saying.
Yeah, I might have a couple extra things going on in my trunk. You never know, because I go by the same thought. You never know.
I never know what you got going on.
I don't do a whole lot of remotes, but leading up to them, if I see something that maybe kind of, I don't want to say fall off the truck because we're all here. It's the same thing. But yeah, if there's a couple extra shirts lying around,
I don't wait for nothing to fall off the truck. I jump on that truck and take them.
It's mine.
Hey, I'm like the dudes back in the East Coast that the fashion trucks used to be out in the alley, and you see that guy jump in the back of the truck and get all the FUBU gear and all the all that stuff, man. All the cross colors back in the day and whatever you can find. I'm like, man, I got this. Put it in the trunk, and the only difference is I wasn't selling it. I'm giving it out, man. I'm giving it out for free.
There
so
you go.
I'm
no harm done.
I'm gonna treat our prize closet like them old trucks back in the day that had the old FUBU gear. You know, I'm telling my age when I talk about FUBU. There's somebody listening right now that's like, the hell's he talking about? What's a FUBU?
At best, they're like, isn't that the guy from Shark Tank?
Hell yeah. Yeah, David John. Shout out to David John.
Was a time. What a time.
Right? Sir Whiskey Ray said, don't forget meeting Sir Whiskey Ray twice. Haha, cheers. Yeah, Sir Whiskey Ray was supposed to show up to TI, but he wasn't able to the last time I was out there. That would have been cool. Yeah. He had to cancel his trip to Vegas. But, yeah, Sir Whiskey Ray, man, that's a dude who's like he's a character on the show now. You know what I mean? Like, we have certain characters on this show. All right, there's folks that listen all the time. There's folks that contribute, and then there's actually folks that play a role on the show. Like Money Mitch is a role, right? He plays a role on the show. Like, there's no doubt about it. We just know at some point of the show, like, there's going to be a Money Mitch sighting. It's almost like Bro Man from the Fifth Floor. Remember back in Martin back in the day? Like, Martin would come to the house, and Bro Man would just be sitting on the couch eating a sandwich. Hey, man, what you doing up here? Chilling.
Eating a sandwich.
Bro, man, get your ass out of here. That's Money Mitch. Like, Money Mitch all of a sudden appears on just out of nowhere.
Recurring
What's he doing?
cast, I believe.
What are you doing, Money Mitch? Just watching my grandkid. Talking about some USC football players.
Ukulele.
Yeah,
DJ
exactly. DJU.
And he's got the phrase "What's poppin'?" That's his own
what's
signature
poppin'?
phrase.
That's his signature now. What's poppin'?
Yeah.
And talking about a dog chasing his ass when he was a delivery man.
That's great though. And how many shows could say that? Honestly, I mean, I've been doing radio for a while.
Hey man, that's a
Bounce
pride.
Back and around.
That's a pride. Even folks that don't like us, man, they still are characters of the show.
Right? They're the villains.
Hey, yeah, exactly. Everyone's got to have a villain,
That's
man.
right.
You know, everyone can't be the good guy. Someone's got to be a villain on the show, man. So we got our villains too. So I can appreciate that. Like I said, man, everyone plays a role. And then, of course, our great guests that we have on the daily, you know, like we had today from Paul Gutierrez to Lincoln Kennedy, John McClain, Brandy Flores, even our Clark High School head football coach, Deumaine Reeder, who was the Tom Flores High School Football Coach of the Week award recipient. Like, everyone plays a role on the show, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a me thing. Trust and believe that. Like Clint Kubiak says, I ain't never called a game by myself. I ain't never done a show by myself, man. There's so many people that play a massive role in what we do here on the daily, and it's a lot of fun. It's half the reason why we come up and want to do this each and every day, because it's just so much fun to be able to, like I said, man, just be a small part of your life on the daily. We do appreciate all the feedback that we get on the text line at 702-365-9200. Houston said, when I'm in the streets, I need that heat, said by a true Bay Area brother.
Right on time.
I'm from South Central, Q. I understand. Great show. Hey, man, that's real. Bay Area through and through. It's funny, man. We were at the facility today for practice, and we were talking to Sam Warren, who's part of the show on Fridays from The Athletic. And, you know, he grew up in the Bay, and then I was also talking to Sam Gordon. Sam Gordon was in concert today. Matter of fact, Sam Gordon's going to be on the show tomorrow, but he was in concert today. There was a soundtrack playing, and my man was rapping every single song. So at some point I was like, for one night only, Sam Gordon in concert live. Get your tickets now. Guaranteed to sell out. But he was asking Sam Warren about, you know, any of his Bay Area friends, if any of the Bay Cats have been up here. And I was like, man, all you got to do in these streets in Las Vegas is go outside and say you're from the Bay. There's so many Bay Area cats here. It's awesome. And being a Bay brother myself, I definitely recognize that.
Yeah, I can acknowledge that long before my Raiders days here in sports radio over there on the hip-hop station.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
This is
Franny.
like 15,
Franny was my guy.
Years. Yeah,
Franny was my guy. Yep.
A bunch of people, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a whole lot about the Bay.
No doubt, no doubt. Let's see. We got this text from Rob in Oakland. I know it's still early. We've held out various players at various times, but I've become a little concerned about our ability to control the line of scrimmage on both sides. Our defensive line sometimes gets blown off the ball, and there's been a general absence of forward movement by the O-line. I don't want to overreact, but I'd like to see a sign or two that we're capable of being physical up front. That is Rob in Oakland. Really good text, as always. Rob's always bringing the heat. That's another character on the show. Like we'll have all our comments, we'll have all our feedback, and then Rob will be like, all right, now let me break it down to you and give you all the technical terms, and you got to do this and do that, and you know, and he'll break it down and set us straight. It's almost like we'll have some sense of direction of what we're going. And then Rob's like, all right, hold on, man.
Let me get
Hold on. Y'all are starting to color outside the lines, man. Let me get you inside the lines real quick. Let me get you straight. Rob always keeps it straight, man.
I also can really appreciate being the guy that is so terrible at research. You guys always have the answers, like when, oh, what's the player again or what year?
I know.
Somebody always chime in. So.
Anytime my mind goes blank.
Yep. And I'm no help on those ones.
No, you're not. You're definitely not.
Is it this guy? No.
No, exactly. Yeah, you are the worst on that.
Do what
but
I can.
It's okay. Yeah, hey, I appreciate it. But with that being said, again, we will be out in them streets tomorrow. We will have a really good time, and all we need is you. 903 East Lake Mead Parkway in Henderson. Again, $3 Blue Moons, Coors Light pints, $4 Modelo pints, $20 Topo Chico buckets. You can win tickets to a game at Allegiant. You can win the $100 Allegiant bar credit, $100 Uber credit. I mean, everything that you need, you can and possibly want is going to be there. And like I said, this show will come to you. So if you're headed in town or you are in town for the game on Thursday at Allegiant Stadium, the final preseason game of the year, and then the next time we see a game at Allegiant, it will be real. Just come on by, say what's up. Would love to meet you and say appreciate you here on RaiderNation Radio 920.